wandering through the aisles of my art store. I bought myself a Pictomicron and some Bristol core. I made a fancy comic, and now I am all set to be the greatest web cartoonist on the fucking internet. I'll have a forum and a blog and links from DVD. I'll get reviewed by Webster, Clean and William G. The world can be a royster. I think it's a safe bet when you're the greatest web cartoonist on the fucking internet. When you're the greatest web cartoonist on the fucking
Hello, everybody. Ooh,
What's up, people?
here we all are. All right, let me turn this one off for a minute.
I usually have a background, but I guess my
man,
place doesn't look that terrible. So you guys can see I actually not a fancy cartoony place.
It's like you got a remodel, Amber.
I've been there.
What?
It's like you got a remodel.
I'm okay with you living on Earth. I've been there. It's a nice place.
You know, do you remember there's a Bing Crosby song that's like, you know, would you like to swing on a star? And one of the lines is, or would you rather live on Earth? It's like, star swinging sounds nice. So,
Chuck, we can't hear you.
Chuck, we lost you. Your sound is gone. It must be tied to your board. Oh, it's tied to your board. That's why.
Shit. Oh, shoot. Okay. Sorry.
Yes,
I did that again. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all my fault. Yeah, and I was just saying some good things. You were talking about that song, If You Like to Swing on a Star.
Yeah.
That was in the movie Hudson Hawk, one of my favorite movies of all time, which actually, I have to see that again. I haven't seen it for a long time. I love Hudson Hawk. Who here does not love Hudson Hawk?
I like Hudson Hawk.
I saw
You've
it so
never
long
seen
ago.
it? No.
When was it? 90s
Put it on
or
your
80s?
list. It's a treat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great, Dale. You'll love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it or anything. Has anyone ever seen the movie Oscar with
Yes.
Sylvester Stallone in it?
Stallone.
No.
It's amazing. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like Ian showed it to me, and I was like, why do I not know about this movie? This is replaced something in my top 15. I'm not gonna say the top 10, but definitely the top 15 of movies.
It also has the Oscar's wife is played by, and I forget her name, but she was the princess in Flash Gordon.
Alyssa Milano? No, it wasn't. It was she won she won the Oscar for My Cousin Vinny.
No.
Marissa Tomei?
Who played
Yeah,
Princess
I think it was
Ardala
Marissa
in the
Tomei.
original Flash Gordon? Because
Yes.
I definitely had a thing for the original Princess Ardala in the Buster
If
Crab.
that was Marissa Tomei, she would have been
No.
like a 15,
God.
I think.
You know, we're on the internet. We could always just go.
Yeah.
Oh,
look
what
up
fun is
Oscar.
that? What fun is that? Getting
Well, no,
backed
the
off
young girl in
We're immediately setting off on a
Oscar.
whole bunch of different paths here. That's the problem. We don't have it.
I would like our listeners to do the fact checking, and we'll speculate. We'll speculate.
All right, yeah.
They can
No.
fact check.
Viewers,
No.
okay, question. Who played Princess Ardala in the original Flash Gordon with Buster Crab?
Come
Was
to
it
our
the same
rescue.
actress in all of them, or was it different actress? I definitely remember becoming quite attracted to Princess Ardala over the course of watching those series as a young boy. You know, like we would have them. They would show them on sort of they would show them in the mornings during the holidays, like on the BBC. Like, so during the summer holidays or whatever, they'd have like a sort of some cartoons and stuff on BBC, and they would always have Flash Gordon.
Uh-oh.
No.
Do we
I'm
have-
You know,
talking
it's
about
really
the
hard.
movie Flash Gordon.
It's
Yeah,
really
I know,
hard
but I'm
to
taking it back before we go
Oscar,
forward. We need to go back.
Female actress without getting the totally wrong kind of Oscar. And I'm going movie Oscar, female actress, and that doesn't help. I just need to go into IMDb. I am the human hyperlink.
Yeah, human hyperlink. When the human hyperlink fails, it uses the internet. That's what the internet does. I mean, internet just uses the internet, really.
In Flash Gordon in 1980, and in the movie Oscar, she was Sylvester Stallone's wife, and the actress's name is Ornella Muti.
Oh,
she's from the movie.
I was thinking of the daughter. That's Marissa Tomei.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
There's a really good documentary about that movie and the fandom of that movie made by Sam Shepard. Is that the guy's name? Who's Flash Gordon? What's Flash Gordon's name?
Sam Shepard.
No. Who's the actor who played...
The cowboy?
Yeah, there's a really good documentary. Anyway, he's made a really good documentary about like that movie and the fandom of that movie. And a cast on it. Brian Blessed's in it. Brian Blessed's in it and goes on about how much he loved Flash Gordon as a kid and how that was just like the greatest thing in his life was.
That's because everyone
being Prince
comes up to Brian Blessed and asks him to say, "Gordon's alive."
Yes. Yes, and he'd love to do it. You know, he wouldn't. He's not shy.
He loves it.
I think he's still around. I didn't hear that he's gone. Yes. I think, yeah. Oh, Brian, blessed. Thank you if you're watching. Cheers.
He's one of those actors I've watched my entire life, from The Avengers to Space 1999 to God knows how much British stuff.
Yes. Oh my God. Now they've got to get him in Star Wars quick because he's not been in Star Wars yet. Like now, The Mandalorian's gone totally stupid. Like now, Star Wars is being totally stupid. It's time to get Brian Blessed in.
I haven't watched The Mandalorian for like 2 seasons. Is it stupid this season?
Right.
I don't know. Somebody shared. I saw some meme, and it was some Australian guy just saying, "Oh, Disney's for idiots now," and like just saying how stupid everything in The Mandalorian. How in the past it was like show don't tell. Now it's just tell, and you know everything's just proceeds assuming the audience are complete idiots.
You know, I read a really interesting article that kind of talked about long series suffer the dinner table episodes, right? Where you have to set the dinner table. These are the characters, this is the events and everything like that. And when you have a long series with breaks, and you know they have to do the previously on The Mandalorian episodes, but they don't do that anymore. You know, they don't do that recap anymore. So instead, they have to remind the audience what's going on. It's like they forgot people binge watch stuff. And like,
yes. They're writing it like an old-fashioned show.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing is, they're so mass market. The fact is, though, that they are writing it for idiots because the global audience is idiots. Because, you know,
we're all idiots in our own way.
No, but the lowest common denominator, you know, you've got to make it to that, and then that makes everybody pretty stupid.
Yeah, those big shows, I think it's kind of true. Like, they have to recoup so much money. They have to be safe. They have to get everybody in the tuna net, even the dolphins.
Do you guys remember the show Batman Beyond that was on in the 90s?
Nope.
So it was a cartoon show in the Bruce Timm Batman universe, right? So that started with Batman the Animated Series, and then you had the Superman show, and then they combined them into an hour-long show of Batman and Superman. So they were expanding this universe. They started the JLA show. They created a bunch of different shows in that Bruce Timm style, a bunch of movies, Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah, his style sort of took over from what had previously been the more sort of standard style of Marvel animation.
So Batman Beyond was this interesting experiment where it jumped into the future, and Batman had stopped being Batman years ago because he basically got too old. And picked up a gun and realized like that's not who I am, right? Because he picked up a gun to defend himself. And so he stopped being Batman. Terry McGinnis runs into him and ends up becoming the new Batman. I'm not going to go into it and stuff like that, but you know, he's avenging his dead father and stuff.
Too late.
The thing is the first season, Warner Brothers paid no attention to this show. They said, okay, this is a filler show. We just need a half-hour block. We know the Bruce Timm stuff is popular. You know, just fill it in, right? Well, it had some of the best ratings of the entire afternoon cartoons block, and it had some of the best ratings of Saturday morning. So then the Warner Brothers executives came in, and they were going to make the show better. And the second and third seasons were so wacky compared to the first season. You know, they tried to tie in every single villain that Batman had into Terry's life, and like, I mean, this is supposed to be
because that's how they sell the toys, you know. Because now it's going out. It's going out all over the world. They've got a profit. You know, they're going to make toys. They're going to sell it all to all these different countries. You know, that's the thing. Every country knows who Batman is, and it's so much money.
In the future, the only like real, I mean, you had gangs roaming Gotham called the Jokers that like admired the Joker, and they tried to do Joker stuff. So, you know, and they always referred to some kind of event that happened where Joker had died. And then there's a movie later on of Batman Beyond where the Joker comes back, and Mark Hamill delivers this amazing creepy performance, and it was so gritty. They actually yanked some scenes of it when they originally broadcast it in the United States. And so,
oh wow,
yeah, like, I mean, I'm talking the Batman Beyond show was surprisingly good. It was too good for its own good. And then when Warner Brothers realized it had an audience, they tried to fix it, and they ruined it.
Isn't that like kind of one of those life rules that you learn, like, don't fix shit that works? if it ain't broke, don't mess with it.
No. But it wasn't. It doesn't matter to them. It's like they don't. The first season's there. That'll go out. That's what they show. That's what will get people hooked. And now they just need to milk that cow.
Yeah. And they did. The first season, they did not have any Batman Beyond toys. But the second and third season, oh boy, did they.
See?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. They realized that audience was there. Like I said, it was originally a filler show. The DVD commentary I have, Bruce Timm talks about that. About how Freakazoid and Batman were both filler shows, and they both found huge audiences with people. Freakazoid was supposed to be in kind of the Bruce Timm world, but kind of a funny character. And so Bruce Timm actually did the original design for the character Freakazoid. But then the Animaniacs guys, it was kind of plumped into their lap. And you know, it's like, okay, here's a character that Bruce Timm made, do something with it, make it silly. And so they're like, okay, we'll make a variety show with a superhero and animate it, and they did, and it's amazing. Like, Freakazoid, if you've never actually sat down to watch it, you have to understand that it influenced so much television today. Like, its style of humor. If Adult Swim had existed when Freakazoid was around, it'd still be on the air. Yeah, it's Paul Rudd, just brilliant writer and comedian and voice
Paul
actor.
Rudd?
Paul Rudd.
Oh,
Good.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Paul Rudd doesn't do that as well.
No, not Paul. No, Paul Rudd. I do know the difference between Paul Rudd and Paul Rudd.
Well, I don't know my animated Batman, but I guess I'm really curious about Mark Hamill's Joker performance, because I've heard a lot about that.
It's really good. He can switch on a dime from just joyous, happy to terrifying in that role. And so there's an episode that's called Mad Love, which is a semi-flashback episode, semi-like, this is kind of a crisis of crossroads episode. And it was the first episode where Harley Quinn wanted to leave the Joker. And it was an animated episode. This wasn't a comic book first, but it was such a good story that they made comic books of the story, and they added it into the official Batman canon. So she wants to leave the Joker, right? And the Joker, the reason why she wants to leave him is because he had these plans to kill Batman and stuff like that, one of which was using piranha. Well, if you've ever seen piranha, they have upside down smiles. So he couldn't figure out how to have the smiling fish eat Batman if their smiles were upside down. So she had the idea to hang Batman upside down. And she's like, there, now they're smiling at him, right? And the Joker comes over and he gives her a huge hug and then throws her out the window. Because he
threw her out the window.
Yeah, because she figured it out. And he wanted the glory and the fame and everything for figuring it out. And so that's why she almost left Batman that episode. And so she ends up back at Arkham, and she's all busted up, and she's got broken bones and everything like that. And the psychiatrist is talking to her and it mirrors another part of flashback where she's talking to the Joker as the psychiatrist when she was just pure Harley Quinzel, Dr. Quinzel. And
yes.
So it mirrors that scene. And
she's Dr. Quinzel.
The psychiatrist asks her, like, what did it feel like when he pushed you out the window? Right? and so she looks over and she sees a vase with some roses in it. And it says, feel better, Mr. J. And she says, it felt like a kiss. And it's like...
It felt like a what?
A kiss.
A kiss?
Yeah, because she's messed up. The Joker had messed her up, right? This is a kid's show. They are talking about psychological damage and like post-traumatic stress, and they're talking about like all kinds of really adult themes, and like trauma, and like Bruce Timm snuck in some real storytelling into these kids shows.
Well, I think
very good. I'm just going to get some ink. I'll be right back. Excuse me.
I'm sorry. I've been hogging the show. I've been talking about Batman.
I think they realized that kid shows really aren't kid shows anymore. Anything that has to do with sci-fi or superheroes, they know they're going to have an adult audience. And there's a long tradition in animation to hide adult jokes because this is stuff made by adults.
That's because the original shorts were meant for everybody. They were, not family friendly, but they were meant to entertain everybody. And kids just gravitated towards the animation. And so the industry went, oh, animation's for kids. And that's not, you're right, it's not true, but that's not where animation started. It started as entertainment for everybody. There's a difference between genre and medium. I'm sorry. I'm just.
There's so much, I don't know what to call it. There's so many animated shows that I absolutely love, and there's something about animation that I think can do something that the non-animated stuff can't do. And oftentimes when I say I'm really into like something like BoJack Horseman, there's always an adult that's like, I don't watch it. Oh, is that animated? Oh, I don't watch animated stuff. Which
I don't watch kids shows or something.
I don't understand that at all. It's like they can't grasp this idea that you can do anything except like maybe comedy or children's entertainment if it's animated, which is so not true.
People are always frightened of it because they know it's powerful. People they're scared of it. They diminish it because they can't do it. It's difficult. You can't do it. It conveys an idea so much more powerfully and quickly.
From a talking horse.
Yeah. That goes straight to people. They understand it right away. And it sort of undermines these people that want to sort of hypnotize you, using the traditional human methods of sort of voice and word and song.
Well, there's also a religious aspect. You've had people in the past who were very Christian talk about you're depicting talking animals. And there are some people who are Christians who are very against that.
Yeah, I've already had a couple people that have gotten upset at me in my show or my comic because they're like, animals don't talk. Yeah. And it's like,
wait, who said this?
I don't understand.
Metaphor.
That's just some kids trying to mess with you.
No, I had somebody who was legitimately upset and in my chat and talking about how animals shouldn't talk.
But why? That's the part I don't get. Like, why should they not talk?
It's a story. It's a visual metaphor for things. But
why shouldn't animals talk? Why shouldn't they talk?
Yeah, why shouldn't they talk?
Are they talking about? Okay, yes, okay. Maybe they're talking about from a point of view of Grizzly Man, where he sort of goes on. He's against the Disneyfication of animals and the Disneyfication of the world. So you could say, well, yes, if that's what you're talking about,
Yeah.
Well, and then, but then you're like, well, what do you feel about that? I don't know.
Well, the grizzly man thing is kind of like you have to like lose your grip on most people. Okay, not that guy, but most people have to lose their grip on reality to think that a grizzly bear is like a giant stuffy. You know, like 1 out of 10,000 people might do that.
Yes, for him, yes. He was a bit of a Fruit Loop, no doubt. You know, but you know, I think that Werner Herzog was making the movie and making the point about this broader thing in culture of the sort of Disneyfication of nature and the wild world, and like, you know, treating it as a sort of a safe thing when it really isn't. And even if we tame the whole world, I think he's saying the universe isn't like that.
Yeah, I mean,
have you heard about this new? I shouldn't say it's that new because it's been going on for years. But TikTok has a challenge of getting your picture taken with a wild animal, and so people will go to like places where there's tigers and stuff, and they'll, you know, where the tigers are relatively tame, like in Thailand or whatever, and they'll, like, you know, they'll get a picture taken with the tiger. Oh, look, I'm with the tiger, right? And then stuff like that. Well, here in the United States, we don't have tigers. So what people have been doing is they've been going to Yellowstone and trying to.
Do we have more tigers here than anywhere else?
The bison have killed 27
I think if you looked it up, we've probably got more tigers here in captivity than living here in the wild in the world.
Hold on. We probably do. 27.
27 people this year have been killed by bison. And most of them have been tourists trying to take pictures with the bison.
And most of them have been tourists that aren't from North America trying to take pictures with the bison.
No.
All the videos
I'd say it's
I
probably
see.
about 50-50.
Really?
Between
All the
tourists,
Like, I feel like if you don't have, like, sometimes I feel like if you don't really have any experience with nature, like, I grew up in part in the country.
Yeah.
And if you don't have any direct experience with nature, maybe you kind of are out of touch with what nature is.
Well, I'm just thinking cities are for you. You know, if you don't have any touch with nature, it's like you know, cities are for you. Yeah.
I mean, just because a buffalo doesn't like eat people, just because it eats grass mostly and doesn't eat people, you know, it's still like 1,000-pound animal with horns and stuff.
Yeah.
like it doesn't have to have razor sharp teeth. 27 people in Yellowstone. I mean, you think they would have stopped that. Yeah, they think. I feel like they would have shut that down at about 2 people. They would have been like, it happened again. This is a real problem. We got to talk to people.
How big is Yellowstone? How many park rangers are there? Right? They have signs up. Don't go near the bison. They are wild animals. They will kill you.
I'm going to rename it Buffalo Carnage Park.
There's a thing in
you will slip and you will die. That's the sign they had up.
There's a very narrow margin between a stupid human and a smart bear. Okay? And so like trash cans in parks, they trying to design them so bears won't go into them, and so bears will stay away from people and not get used to being around people. And you know, people are like, oh, it's a friendly bear, and then get mauled, right? And so they talk about this, about how they can't design it too smart because then humans won't be able to throw away their trash, and they just won't. They'll dump it. You know, they'll just throw it on the ground. And that's what the trash cans are for, just putting your trash in. And so they have this narrow margin of the design of trash cans to keep the bears out.
I mean, you know, bears are pretty smart. And they have the whole nighttime to figure it out.
I'm talking about the stupidity of humans. That's the point of that story, not the smartness of bears.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like, to be fair, it's like, you know, bears are pretty smart, and then they have the whole like nighttime to figure out how to get in the thing.
Yeah.
And humans are like, I can't figure it out in 30 seconds. I'll just leave it here.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the TikTok videos of like people with, I think they're black bears, where like a girl will be standing there with her phone, and this black bear will come up to her, like stand up next to her, and get super close.
And it's like, bitch, what you doing?
And I'm all like cringing. I'm assuming nothing bad will happen because it's on TikTok, and they probably would have pulled it if something bad happened. But I was like, man, please people don't get any inspiration from these videos because you're just going to get chewed on. I mean, even a brown bear will chew on you, or a black bear will chew on you a little.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, it's not about the smartness of bears. It's about the stupidity of humans. They have to be signs everywhere around Yellowstone. Don't go near the bison.
Don't forget about the ambition. Don't forget about the ambition of influencers.
It's amazing how we can be like the smartest creatures in the universe, but also the stupidest.
I kind of feel like we're, like in Rain Man, Rain Man can do some things exceptionally well, but in other areas, like he could count cards in Vegas, but he couldn't make change at the corner store. And I kind of feel like the species is kind of like that. We can put like a rocket, on the moon, but then there's some other stuff that seems a lot simpler, and we have not figured it out.
It's not about the species, okay? A group of people can put a rocket on the moon.
Yeah, we were really monolithic when we did that. Oh, the USA was very monolithic. Well, it was everybody in those videos of the crowd for that Apollo 11 movie. The crowd was so homogenous. They all looked like, white shirt, tie, one of those sun hat.
That was
and most of them were in their 20s when they did the Apollo missions.
But I'm talking about the audience. The crowd that was there to watch it was so homogenous.
I think the astronauts had to be in super good shape. I don't think you become you do these days, but I think back then when you had to be in amazing shape, the best shape of your life.
Yeah, they put them through rigorous training. And me, just as a girl and you like girl power and all that shit.
Yeah.
I was very.
Tell me what you want. What you really, really want.
I was really upset when I found out that there was a Mercury program that never got a chance to go to the moon. And the Mercury program was a woman's program that was they trained right next to the Apollo program, and they just never got a chance to go to the moon. They just never were allowed to be astronauts. And so one of the astronauts, or one of the people that Elon Musk had on his SpaceX rocket, was one of these Mercury women that never got a chance to be an astronaut. And so I was like, hey, she got to touch space.
So he's not all bad.
If they're sending Shatner up there,
no,
they
he
can
did
send
it because she was the only one certified to fly the ship.
Okay, she was the cheapest.
Yeah, no, I'm serious because you're breaking the atmosphere. There's international stuff.
I would love to see that game show, The Price is Right astronauts. Da 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 da, such and such, you are the cheapest pilot we can find. I mean, it's probably going to go that way. That's what's happening with commercial airlines. Yeah, pretty soon, these commercial space flights are just going to be they're going to pay the captain $35,000 a year. Oh. There's going to be some really high-profile crashes. One's going to go into the Grand Canyon, and then they're going to reevaluate it for a week.
Yeah, it's not like regulation would help or anything, Yeah, everything's getting deregulated.
Yeah,
scary.
I don't know what's up with the airlines. I mean, they're kind of just buses in the sky
What's
now.
the deal with airlines?
I do not know.
Yeah,
they
because glamorous air travel is expensive. It always was.
Dale, you're very quiet this show.
I don't know.
You guys are all talking.
Yeah, Dale's just here for when we run out of things to say, and then he'll just remind us what's going on. What's really going on? Dale's like the static of the universe. Zardoz, the great cartoonist at work.
We're talking about people going to Yellowstone and doing something stupid and getting hurt or killed by an animal.
Yeah.
So he's listening. That's a very important task.
Public service announcements this show.
Alan Alda says that listening means allowing yourself to be changed by the other person.
Well, yeah, Alan Alda, he has sad news too. He just got diagnosed with Parkinson's.
I haven't said anything. You guys talk over everyone.
I'm sorry.
No. It's just that's the dynamic of this group. So what I just wanted to say was, there will always be people doing something stupid and getting themselves hurt because it's funny, and we have to remember we all live in a comic strip. So these people are.
That is good evidence for his theory.
These people are typically background characters. They're little jokes that go on in the background. That's a horrible thing to say because in real life, these are people with feelings and families, and it's a tragedy to those people when they get hurt. but I think it was Mel Brooks who said, you know, a tragedy is me getting a cold. A joke is when you fall down a manhole and die.
Yeah, we're all background characters in
He also
someone
said-
else's life.
He also said
someone else's
a
joke,
joke is tragedy with time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If your life isn't funny, you're just a straight man. Yeah.
Feel like comedy is tragedy plus time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Okay.
But you know, we're talking about large animals.
Yeah.
Every animal wants to kill us, and every animal probably can kill us. You know, you get a fly up your nose while you're riding a motorcycle, that can kill you. I took a cat to the vet once that needed surgery. I had no idea that a cat could kill a human being. It took three adult people to hold down a house cat.
Yeah. Cat can kill a human being.
Did you see those pictures on Facebook this week of statues of Hercules wrestling the lion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man Hercules trying to give his cat a pill. That was funny.
Yes,
I did not see that.
Life wants to kill other life. I mean, that's the whole point of predators. Herbivores kill plants, predators kill herbivores. We just kill everything.
Well,
Yeah,
that's not nihilistic at all.
Which is why I think we need less people, but you know, some people would disagree with that.
Well,
just say.
we're missing the point if we do that, because I think in the Garden of Eden they said that we were supposed to look after life.
Yeah, we screwed that up, I think.
Well, we screwed it up, but I mean, I think the point. I mean, people don't seem to really get the point that we're supposed to keep on doing that.
No, it said that we were the master of it, not necessarily that we look after it.
You know, Native peoples believe that we're the stewards of the land, not the masters.
Well, okay, you've got to look at the different
like
versions of that story.
Yeah.
You know, are you talking about the Gilgamesh version, or are we talking about the Judaic version?
Well, I was talking about Native peoples of the United States.
Oh yes, yes, yes. So yes, let's talk about them.
Yeah, like I said, they believe that we're stewards of the land, that we're caretakers.
Yes,
that's our duty, and that we're shirking our duty as humans.
Absolutely, yes. I think I actually think that's probably the savior of this country will be listening to the Native Americans.
I mean, it's not like they don't know the land.
Yeah.
It seemed a lot more reasonable than what I was taught, in the Bible. Which, if you think it through, doesn't work that well, especially when you understand the nature of man. It doesn't work.
Well, I think the Christian religion is a lot about crowds of people, and it's all like everything that happens in Christianity story is like large crowds of people, because the world had moved to that point where, you got to look at that was a good cartoon, the sort of history of religion, where you sort of like. At some point you sort of worship the rocks, like the most primitive people, like up there in the sort of northern parts. The spirits are in the rocks and things.
I mean, why not? I mean, it seems as good as it. It seems actually more reasonable than some of the mainstream religions.
Your doctor friend, the historian, Tony.
Oh yeah, Dr. Tim.
Yeah, Tim. Thank you. I'm awful with names. Tim
Duran.
He was talking about the Indo-European.
Yes, the Proto-Indo-Europeans. I learned about them from him. Being a European, I was like, who are these Proto-Indo? What are you on about? So I learned about the Proto-Indo-Europeans from him, and they were the people that sort of preceded.
Yeah, preceded writing and kind of made the basis for a lot of the belief systems in Europe. Is the theory.
Yes.
But yeah, they were rock worshippers. They were sky worshippers too. They believed everything had a soul, and I think the Greeks believed that too, that everything had a soul.
I mean, is that so bad? I think that's a pretty reasonable way to go about things, to me.
Yeah, and like Shintoism too, and then and then that allows for your robots to come alive, to have a spirit. Yeah, it means that consciousness is inherent in the universe.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. And that, like, our brains as this sort of complicated mass of energy, that focuses the consciousness into that point. Like, the consciousness is sort of focused in on the brain while we're alive. All right, and it's sort of the body, and then when we die, it just dissipates. It can't like with all those atoms, they've all been here, and they'll continue to be here. There's no part of you that won't be still here.
Well, that's one of the reasons why some religious groups dislike cartooning. Is we just said that there are religions that think there are spirits in everything: trees, rocks, animals, etc. And when you do cartoons, quite often you will have talking rocks, you will have talking trees, you will have talking animals. It's those cartoons in essence become a competition to various religions' worldviews.
I think there's something to be said too about, like, what Chuck was saying, that computers could have souls, right? If we build a soul, and I've had computers that have had personalities. I've had printers that have had personalities. That they didn't like to work on cold days. Or, you had to put in the paper just right. Yeah.
And you'll be like Luke Skywalker. You have to be nice to your droids. Like, if you shouldn't be like Darth Vader and abandon them and move on.
I had a pair of
mistreat them.
I was listening to, I don't know if it was Joe Rogan, but they were talking about ayahuasca and how the Indians discovered basically, like, if you mix this plant with this plant and boil it and go through this process, you get this thing called ayahuasca, and it can alter your states. And they asked the Indians, how did you happen to know of, like, these 20,000 plants in the rainforest to combine this plant with this other plant? And their answer was, the forest told us. And I figure, like, that's as good an answer as, that's as good as answer as any that I can think of.
Yes.
I mean, because they wasn't trial and error.
Yeah, but also their senses are so tuned to their environment; they're not distracted by watching Netflix or this show.
That's because someone said the forest told us. You would have to go backwards and ask that person, okay, is that something that you know, or is that something that you were told? Who told you that? It's quite possible they did develop it by trial and error. You're just not hearing about all the people who died developing that.
Are you calling that dude from South America a liar?
What I'm saying is that Joe Rogan relies on Forteanism to attract people to the show.
Joe Rogan?
Yeah, I don't know if this was on Joe Rogan, by the way. I just know that there is the Joe Rogan part's probably irrelevant to the story. It was.
Yeah, let's not focus on Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
please.
it was talking about how the natives.
Don't want this
came
show
up with
compared to
ayahuasca.
Joe Rogan show.
It could have been. I mean, like, where does intuition come from? I can't figure out where, like, half of my thoughts come from. Sometimes you just have a jump. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Ian talks about, like, the ancient Japanese would eat anything, right? Somewhere in the past, a Japanese guy figured out that you could open up a
sea urchin.
Yeah, and that it was delicious, right?
Oh, that was.
Look at that creature.
I was on a beach on Greek island once, and there were these Lebanese couple, and they were, like, diving into the water with their flippers. They were picking up sea urchins, and then they were bringing them up and cutting them open, and then we were scooping out the insides and just eating them on the beach.
You can just straight up eat a sea urchin like that?
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's a very popular sushi.
Yeah, it's
probably eating it a bunch.
Nigiri.
Oh. That was like when I was about 17, 18.
Yeah. But the point I'm making is that, somewhere in the past, some Japanese guy figured out you could eat those things and told others. And then it became a staple of food of the islands. And years and years and years pass. They encounter the Europeans and stuff, and then they're like bringing out sea urchins, and the Europeans are like, "What are those?" Like there's stories about them seeing sea urchins for the first time and going, "That's food."
But weren't there like sea urchins all around, like the Mediterranean and the Atlantic as well, and they just never got onto it?
They just never ate
tried.
them.
Yeah, they just never tried.
Yeah, they never ate them.
You just got to put stuff in your mouth and try to eat it, folks.
That's
I'll let you do
that. Things that is useful about travel is you discover that the staples and dishes that you eat are typically just a very limited amount of what is possible. And there are crops grown all over the world that we never see here in North America.
Yeah.
I kind of...
Quinoa was new.
That's a South American thing, isn't it? Like an Andes thing?
Yeah, quinoa has been a staple. I'm sorry, I'm very talkative. Go on.
Staple. Yeah, it's like a staple grain. Well, it's not a grain, is it? It's something a little bit different, I think. It's like technically a fruit or something. Like I thought it's one of those things that
a grain, isn't it? A grass? I thought it was a grass. A grass. I should say a grass.
We could probably look it up.
Dude.
We do have the internet.
I'm not doing any more of that. It's
fun
okay,
wait.
I am human hyperlink. I am drawing today.
Yeah, did we find out who played Princess Ardala in the original Star Trek?
I got distracted.
Can someone please look up
I have
who
ADHD.
played Princess Ardala in the original Buster Crab? Because I forgot about that. I had quite a crush on Princess Ardala.
Oh, good God.
Dale's on it, folks. He's on it. I can tell.
Come on, Dale. Do you only like things? So, like, people in Britain in the 70s, we were all watching Flash Gordon. Does that not make you more interested in it?
Are we referring to Princess Ardala, who was in the, I think it was Buck Rogers in the 70s and 80s? That was
no, I'm talking about the original Flash Gordon with Buster Crab in the 1930s.
It's Princess Ardala, then it's Buck Rogers.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
Yeah,
but that was also Buster Crab. That was also Buster Crab.
Yes.
So there was it was a bit hard to tell which one was which sometimes.
And then he sighs. It's like, Prince.
Who was the one? Yeah, I mean, who was the one that would capture him and he wanted to have a way? I thought that was the one.
I thought the villain was Ming the Merciless in.
That's in Flash Gordon.
Flash
Wait,
Gordon.
what's the fact? If we're doing internet fact checks, which I gotta say is fascinating.
Yeah.
I'll look up quinoa.
I'm drawing.
Quinoa.
Yeah,
How do you spell quinoa? Do I have to look that up too?
Quinoa.
I found it.
Quinoa, because I would always call it quinoa. I was like, what is this quinoa and why what is this quinoa? And then when I realized they were the same thing, I was like, oh.
So check this out. It's a flowering plant from the era. This is going to mean nothing to any of us. Amaranth family. It's a herbaceous annual plant grown as a crop primarily for its edible seeds. Rich in protein, vitamin B, blah, blah, blah.
It's like couscous.
And it says in amounts.
No, it's not like couscous.
Quinoa is not a
not
grass,
like
but rather, this is the important part. It is not a grass, but rather a pseudo-cereal botanical related to spinach. And amaranth, the other word that we don't know. I have to go to several different... Oh, listen to this. It was first used to feed livestock 5,000 to 7,000 years ago, and for human consumption in Lake Titicaca Basin.
Lake Titicaca.
Oh, no, yes. All right, yes.
It's the middle of Belders and Peru.
Thank you for picking that up, Amber.
Ooh, what's that song you're singing?
Oh, the lake. You don't know the Lake Titicaca song?
No.
It's from Animaniacs.
Oh.
Yeah, he sing a whole song about it.
Look,
and pointing it out on the map and everything.
I don't watch cartoons like that. They're for kids.
By the way, that's the highlight of the show is me reading Lake Titicaca and then Amber singing that.
Yeah, it's in the middle of Chile and Peru.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Lake Titicaca, oh Lake Titicaca, it's for me and for you.
Wow.
Okay, there was a 1939 serial of Buck Rogers, and there is no Princess Ardala in it. There is a Wilma Deering, who is played by Constance Moore.
No. She's the good
You guys,
guy.
it's hard to be the human hyperlink, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's
I didn't bestow that title lightly. That's
it is easy to be a human hyperlink when you have all the information wrong.
Sometimes some of the information like wrong,
because couscous is a noodle.
I wasn't talking about couscous. I was talking about quinoa.
Yeah, couscous.
Or quinoa, as some people call it.
Quinoa. Couscous is basically
I frustrated Dale today.
Is basically like a pasta, is my
Yes,
understanding.
it's a noodle. It's a tiny round noodle.
Well,
yeah, but wheat noodles are made out of wheat, which is also a grain.
Yeah, so it's basically like a little little wheat product. I mean, they're made out of wheat, I think.
Yes, it's made out of semolina flour.
Just like spaghetti and carbonara and all those other. It's amazing the Italians came up with so many shapes. It really only seems like you need about 3. But this whole aisle.
The reason why there's different shapes of pasta is because Italy's very mountainous, and so there's I'm talking about in ancient
stop right
times.
there.
Wait.
Stop right there. You've convinced me. Yeah, it makes sense now.
Italy's very mountainous, and so in ancient times it's very difficult to traverse from region to region and valley to valley. It was serious travel because you're going over mountains. And so they developed the different noodle shapes to carry sauce. It's like this one realized like this noodle shape, the little tube, it's like the sauce goes inside. It tastes good. This other one, came up with one that's really long and stringy, and they realized it holds sauce, and they went, yummy. And then later on they meet each other and they say, my noodles are the best, but they're both using the same ingredients to make different shaped noodles.
I thought Lake Titicaca was going to be the high point of the show, but I was wrong.
Yeah, well, we live and learn.
I didn't know
there
about
so many different types of pasta is to distract people from the fact that all they have to eat is pasta.
You don't like pasta?
No, it's just that's the truth.
Huh?
If you have to eat pasta every single day, then you want it to come in different shapes.
Yeah. When you were saying the mountainous regions, I thought you were going to say that they evolved it so that you knew that this pasta came from that region and that pasta came from that region.
I'm serious, because that's the names of the pasta. Penny comes from the Penny region. Okay, raviolis were invented.
So it's like, so you knew that. Oh, I'm eating penny pasta, and it came from Penny. But now it's all just the same stuff that's stamped into different shapes.
So on Yankee Doodle, right? Where it says "put a feather in his hat" and called it macaroni. That came because Northern Europeans, English and French and stuff, were, they were traveling Europe and they went to Italy and they fell in love with macaroni pasta, right? Like macaroni and cheese and stuff. They brought that back to England, and anything that was like amazing or great, these dandies would call it macaroni. And so, like, when they would, because they were so inspired by what was going on in Italy.
Anything that was great, they'd say, "Oh, that's macaroni."
Oh, that's macaroni. Yeah.
Oh, we should use that on this show. That's macaroni.
Right.
Yeah, it's like saying, "Man, that's cool."
Because it also sounds like you're saying it's bullshit. Yeah. So when Dale starts going on about the great cartoonist, I can say, "Dale, that's a load of macaroni," and that means it's really great.
Probably leave out the load part.
I mean, if you don't believe me, Google it. But yeah, that's where the term macaroni came from. But it's because they were inspired by the pasta that they ate when they were in Italy, and it was from the macaroni region.
It's like the cat's meow, the cat's pajamas, or it's the cat's pajamas, right? The cat's pajamas.
No, the cat's meow is the name of the movie. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but that's another thing that's like, it's awesome, and it's just some word that like, it's like saying it's the shit, it's the tits, it's the cat's pajamas.
It's macaroni.
It's macaroni.
It's macaroni. Called it macaroni. You know, I've often wondered that. I'm so glad you've set my mind at ease there. I've always wondered where.
I always thought that lyric made zero sense,
like,
but now it makes like 10% sense.
Yeah, well, you have to understand that Yankee Doodle is a very old song. You know, the guy who wrote that song was like, I don't know. It's not that important, but you know, I just thought that was fascinating since we were talking about noodles.
Yankee
it's good.
Come from because I know it's used to refer to like Americans.
Yeah, Yankees were
and Northerners in the
Yankees
Civil War.
Was the derogatory term the English used to describe the rebels during the Revolutionary War.
And then the Civil War. Later on.
Then the Civil War, they were the Northern Yankees.
They were the Yankees, but they called themselves Yankees.
That's a very interesting flip flop in the term. That's very interesting, isn't it? How they like
and then
sort
you've
of
got
completely co-opted the term. It's a little like that happens so often in this country, the politics. Wow.
The ass, the donkey, that's the symbol of the Democratic Party, came because Andrew Jackson was called a jackass, right? And in like one of the political during one of his campaign years, right?
So a jackass for a Jackson.
Yeah, and so the Democrats rallied around that animal and basically said, if he's going to be a jackass, he's going to kick your ass. And so you know, like, I mean, considering Andrew Jackson also beat an attempted assassin with his cane, I think it's fair to say he was pretty much a badass.
I'd like to see more of our presidents like defend themselves against assassins. Like they should just be, you know, like president warriors. Like
it's a bit hard to defend yourself against an automatic machine gun with a cane.
You mean like an Idiocracy?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that what they did in that movie? That was a pretty good movie, by the way. It explains a lot.
Which movie?
Idiocracy.
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah.
I
mean, I sort of love it and hate it. It's sort of like it's almost deliberately a bad movie because it can't be any smarter than its premise. But it's actually so terrifying. It's like, you know, it ends up being a really terrifying sci-fi movie, really. Probably the most terrifying sci-fi movie.
Yeah, you know, and everybody jokes, oh, it's become a documentary, ha ha ha. And I'm like, that is terrifying.
Yeah, it is that. Yeah, it is really terrifying.
It's a little
That's like Mike Judge. He's my hero. I love Mike Judge. Oh my God, I love him. He's the best.
So my during workout drink, I have this, you know, powder that basically makes like Gatorade, right? So we call it Amberade. So, you know, I put it in the powder when I'm at the gym. I, you know, fill it full of water, shake, and I drink it while I'm working out, right?
Amberade. What is it?
It's I could grab it for you in a second and show you the bottle, but we just call it Amberade, like Gatorade. And so
Gatorade with what plus what?
It's not Gatorade. It's a during workout drink, and so I take a scoop of powder out of the drink.
It's your homemade Gatorade.
Yeah, it's homemade Gatorade. Anyway, it says on the package.
Can I order it?
Electrolytes that your body craves.
Can I order it? Where can I get this product? I feel like I'm in an infomercial.
You can go to any.
We're gonna put a number up on the screen in a
health
second
store
here.
that sells health stuff and ask for during workout drink, and they'll bring it. There's going to be a plethora of choices. I change mine all the time.
Oh, all right. It's not your secret branded formula, because I have if you are interested, I've got a secret branded formula for a power drink.
I love how we're not gonna. This story's not gonna get past just the Amberade. We never got past that first sentence. Like, all right. I feel like
Amber,
there was a story here.
My part of the show.
Well, I will grab my workout drink, and I will show you the bottle if you're so curious.
No, I'm just suggesting that you brand it and sell it as Amberade.
No, because that's a lot of work, and I'd rather draw.
Well, all right, yeah. When like as a backup career, when your arm falls off or something.
Every order 10% goes to aiding Amber.
I don't know. I need a new backup career.
Art supplies.
Seaplane pilot used to be my backup career, but I don't think I can. I probably couldn't really do that anymore.
You know, the funny thing about electrolytes is like basically everything's an electrolyte.
Yeah.
It's like saying this drink contains water.
Well, electrolytes are more salt related. And so that's the why in the movie Idiocracy they were killing the plants. Is because they were basically spraying salt water on the plants.
Weren't they giving them like Gatorade or something?
Yes.
Like
yes. Remember, it has electrolytes that plants crave, but they don't because it's salt.
Plants crave electrolytes.
Yeah, that's the
joke. The same way they scream when you cut their heads off.
I
mean, they do. It's too high pitched for us to hear.
I mean, it's logical. If your plants are craving this thing, then they're also screaming when you cut them.
Isn't there? Don't plants scream or something? I
thought
that was
a thing. They communicate with each other.
Yeah, there's like what's it? The mycelium, the network in the soil.
I'm just saying, it's not a good way to advertise to plant lovers.
Well,
they scream.
There comes a point from when you start raising houseplants, but then you gradually change to you're torturing houseplants to death.
Yeah.
I'm still the raising part.
You think that.
By the way, this conversation reminds me of one of my favorite Jack Handy quotes. If trees could scream, would we be so cavalier about cutting them down? We might if they screamed all the time for no good reason. Love that.
Well, if they did, we would have evolved not to hear them.
We probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you seen that meme that's like, if space didn't block sound from the sun, we'd hear it, and it's like space doesn't block anything. Sound can't transfer over that. There's no blocking going on. Okay, there's nothing there for the sound to transfer. You need to have like atoms next to each other for sound to transfer between the atoms because it's vibration.
Yeah. Like, and it just like you wouldn't evolve hearing if that was all that your hearing would evolve so that it didn't hear that. If that was always
there. It's screaming right now.
I think we're seeing the sun scream constantly. We just hear it with our eyes, we see it scream all day long.
Well, the sun is a gigantic nuclear explosion. Let's not forget that. It's like you think Hiroshima was bad. Like the sun is like a gazillion Hiroshimas every second.
A gazillion Hiroshimas?
You know what I think is crazy? Like this.
I don't know how many Hiroshima is nothing compared to what's going on in the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it Elon Musk that talks about that? Like we've got this huge nuclear reactor in the sky that shows up every day.
Yeah. I mean, he's not wrong about that.
You know what I find like totally strange?
He's not wrong about.
that the inside of this planet is like just melted stuff, like nickel and iron, and it's just gooey in the middle. I mean, I find that really hard to just get my head around. For a little while, but not for more than like maybe 500 million years.
Okay, the thing is...
No, because the forces of all the stuff that's there moving around, the whole Earth, it's sort of being moved by these sort of gravitational forces being swung through. So it's always moving, and so the stuff in the centre does it, and it wiggles, and it sort of stays hot. Yeah, it hasn't cooled down. Like we're like we can live because we're on the foam. We're on the sea foam between one state and another. We're in this sort of like what they call the Goldilocks zone. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. We're not too far out. We're the planet hasn't cooled down to a cold hard rock, but it's not a lava lump. We can exist here because of this very fragile little ecosystem that just about like somehow has got the perfect conditions that have allowed us to exist. And as far as we know, we haven't found that anywhere else in the universe. We've discovered a lot of universe, but we so far haven't found anything else.
We found some Goldilocks planets.
We might do. We might find life. Like, let's see. In the next 10 years, with this new telescope, they hope that we'll find it.
They found Goldilocks planets.
No, but life.
They're so far away, we just never be able to reach them.
Yeah, we found Goldilocks planets, and I think we found the pre-life stuff.
Yes, okay. I
It's
think
like,
they've said that they might have found planets. Yes, they're starting to find planets, and they've said with the new telescope they think that they'll find life signs within a decade, which would be great. That will mean there's a good amount of like habitable planets out there. If they don't within a decade, it will mean there are not very many, and that life is very, very rare.
That's gonna be my pitch if I'm a telescope builder. We're definitely gonna find it. We need to build this thing. I need some funding. Start making that lens pronto.
I'm gonna get coffee. I'll be right back.
The thing to remember
BRB.
Chris, when you were talking about, well, the planet's filled with all this liquidy, squishy stuff.
Hot stuff, yeah.
Right, but
hot lava,
magma,
a hot mess.
Magma.
How do you know that?
Somebody told me that maybe looked into it.
He saw a cartoon in a book.
That's right. One of the things that was a seminal moment for me was I was at my grandparents' home in Pennsylvania, and they had an amazing collection of antiques, which unfortunately my foolish uncle sold. But one of the collection was a very old set of encyclopedias, and I spent time flipping through that, reading, and one of the things that I flipped and opened to was the sun. And this is the best article that Encyclopedia Britannica could come up with at the time. The theories were that maybe the sun is this enormous planet that's on fire.
What year?
That it was
what
coal.
Year is this?
Maybe it was just this enormous amount of coal that was burning.
Yeah.
And it's just a reminder that we've built our civilization on
rock and roll,
on these changing stories, and you choose what stories to believe in. And sometimes there are organizations such as religions and businesses that will hang on to stories. They just won't let go of them because it helps with their survival.
It's because the forest told them.
Yeah,
okay.
that too. I mean, like,
they didn't think about it. Like, the forest told them.
Like, if the church takes a position that, like, for example, the Earth is the center of our solar system, right? And then somebody comes up and says, like, a Copernicus type of character or something. I don't know if it was.
You mean like Galileo?
Was it Galileo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was killed by the church for that, by the way.
And somebody comes up like that and says, you know what? I think the data is pointing in this other direction where the sun's the center. I can see how the church has an interest in keeping it the old way, but as far as I know, there's no controversy about what's inside the earth. I don't see any like human motivation.
Really?
I mean, I don't know if the church is. What's that?
Talk to a flat earther about it.
Yeah, but
what do they think the flat earth thing is underneath the earth?
Why would I do that to myself?
I mean, so the problem with the flat earth thing is that I actually don't see the motivation in that either. Like, it makes zero sense to me. Like, the flat earthers fail to compel me because... Well, I mean, they fail to compel me because of this. It's like, usually if you're trying to change people's minds about something, it's because of money or controlling resources or because you're threatening some old school institution like the church. And the flat earthers, they don't have any argument like that.
No, they're just fucking with you.
They're just fucking with me.
You left out an important thing.
Just one?
Life is difficult, and sometimes people have to believe in stories to get through life. And that may be they believe in the inherent goodness of people. It may be that they believe in God. Sometimes people have to believe in something, and they won't give it up in the face of fact.
Oh, look, listen, belief is everything. The more you believe it, the truer it becomes. And, you know, belief is what, you know, creates the whole world around us, is created out of belief. So, like, let's not undermine belief. Like, yeah, but you have to believe in something. You know, if you don't believe in anything, you know, that's a belief. You know, you can't not believe in something. You know, but you want to choose what you believe in, I guess, and it's difficult.
I don't think it really matters whether most people believe in whether the Earth is round or flat. It matters for certain people, maybe like some engineers, some aerospace engineers or something. But for most people, it really doesn't make any difference, I think.
I think it's important to know the nature of your world, though.
Yeah, I think you need to know who you are and where you are.
You know, it's like knowing how weather works, right? It doesn't affect everybody, but you got to know about the water cycle.
The quantum physics theory says that sort of the universe we have is the universe we've observed. You know, if we look through telescopes, we start sort of observing things, and you know, and then science confirms it and becomes fixed. Now, we could blow ourselves all to hell and sort of start imagining a new universe, I suppose. Like that's their sort of view, and it may be true. It may be true that the whole thing is just an imagined world, and that if you just want, like, if everybody did believe the world is flat, then it would be flat. But unfortunately,
I just think that, like, for
the evidence doesn't show that.
Like, let's say I believe the Earth is flat. Now, I don't really, know. Like, I don't know what the flat earthers would say. Like, well, once you know it's flat, you have to change all these things about your life. I watched this whole documentary on them because I was just fascinated by, like, what they were going on about.
Went down the rabbit hole, huh?
I did. I watched, like, a 2-hour doc on them, and I think I figured some stuff out. But, like, you know, for most people, like I said, unless you're, like, an engineer or something like that, as far as I could tell, they're not asking you to change anything about your behavior or your life except believe that the world is flat. And it seems like for most people,
all right.
like, what difference does it make?
It's asking you to...
I mean, it's a little scary.
To disbelieve a certain group of people and believe a different group of people.
Yes.
It's trying to discredit
got it right there. Yeah.
People.
Well, I was trying to figure out what their motivation was, you know, because I usually look at the money first, right?
The motivation is they're not very successful in life, and they're bored, they don't have any creativity, so they latch onto this thing as a way of just fucking with people.
Okay,
so
now,
they're just nasty people, unpleasant people.
How many of those people who are flat earthers brought up religion?
None that I'll tell you what I got out of it after my 2-hour investigation.
2 hours?
Yeah, my 2 hours of documentary watching. I mean, it was this doc, and it's actually pretty good because at first I had no idea what their motivation is. Because, like I said, normally it's money. Like greater than 90% of the time, it's money for all these things. So I don't think
they are that so much. They're just.
I think what I realized is if you saw enough interviews with them, the heads of these movements, there was a tiny bit of money in it, but the real thing is they loved being this kind of like celebrity leader of a movement.
Yes,
and it was apparent after you saw enough of these interviews that they loved the attention.
Yeah, that's a hobby. Yeah, that's exactly. They just do it for a hobby.
Much like this show.
Yeah, like the show. This is fine.
Yeah. A hobby's different though. Like if I take up gardening, I don't expect people to want my autograph. I don't go to gardening conventions.
Yeah.
That's not why I take up gardening.
Then you don't understand what a hobby is.
Well, I mean, all I'm saying is like a hobby is something you do and you find pleasant. A hobby doesn't guarantee you fans and people signing stuff and all this other things.
Yeah, anybody who says monetize your hobby is a jerk.
Like, all I'm saying is this, like, hobbies, you can have a million hobbies without that happening. And what was definitely happening in this community is they were getting treated like these kind of little esoteric celebrities, and they were loving it. And, you could see it slip out in some of the interviews.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Nothing else was making sense to me.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't enough money in these conventions. I mean, they were selling models of the flat Earth, and they were expensive. But I mean, like,
not enough money to you. Depending on their income, that might be an income stream.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of ways.
They enjoy it. They love it. They love it. They're having fun.
Yeah, they love it.
But they're asking you to disbelieve people that know what they're talking about. You know, and then that creates a culture where people don't respect people that know what they're talking about, or I mean, okay, I guess you should question authority. I don't know. It's very complicated. You know, this is what confused me in this country. I mean, there's like twice as many laws, but half as many people obey them. You know, but it's not Nazi Ireland. But it's getting there. It was founded by Nazi Ireland. In Nazi Ireland now.
What's Nazi Island?
The United Kingdom, my former hometown. In Nazi Ireland now, like. My sister was saying she said that she'd seen some survey. I can't believe it was right because I checked it on the fact. I didn't see the fact. I don't know what she was talking about. She said that 90% of teenage kids in the UK are like now sort of identifying as sort of gender non-conforming.
That's still, I mean,
90%.
Well, like you have a kid.
But yeah, okay, maybe you would. Maybe they are.
Something's definitely going on with the kids, and I guess there's maybe two big schools of thought on what's happening. One is like, they're presented with all these options that we never had, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't when I grew up, no one was talking about it's fine to be even gay. I grew up in Catholic schools and stuff, and now kids are like, when they're starting adolescence, it's like, it's fine to be gay, it's fine to be trans, it's fine to be bi, it's fine to be. So they've got all these options. That, that's one thing. But I also think something physically is going on with kids. Like their health is in decline. I don't think there's any arguing with the numbers on that, which is sad.
Yes.
And life expectancy is going down. I expect it's going to keep going down, which ain't so great. So they got health problems as well.
There's always been trans people. Always.
Yeah.
And if you look in historical documents and stuff, they describe them. They describe people like Joan of Arc, who fought with and led the French army against the English. But she did so for the first 3 or 4 years dressed as a man, pretending to be a man. Because she believed that much in her visions that she was to lead them.
Yeah.
And then you also have the two spirit people in native cultures. You have Apollo, who got drunk in ancient Greek mythology and put people in the wrong bodies as a joke. You have all these different kinds of folklore and stories and stuff to explain why there's people who feel that way, feel that they're in the wrong body, or that they're the wrong gender, or that they're not either gender, or that they don't want sex. Asexuality is something that's also been, for forever. Same with being gay and homosexuality. It's just that I think now it's not that they have more options, it's that we're more open about all these things. And so there's more information out there for them to go, oh, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Right? This feeling that I didn't understand, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Wait a second. I just said that.
Well, Amber, can I comment on that?
Amber just said it in another way. That's fine.
Amber said it another way.
I'm sorry.
Amber,
I was half drawing, so.
Yeah.
Amber, can I comment on that?
Yeah. What's that?
I think that you're right. Just based on the historical record and recorded accounts of people who have lived their life outside what was considered the sexual and cultural norms of that time. But as we evolve terms and study this behavior, we label things that happened in the past as being gay or being transgender, but
we're also looking at the past through a new lens.
Right, we're looking at through a lens and we're applying labels. And
yes,
I'm not.
That's what we do. That's how we. That's the grid meets the vortex.
But if we say, oh, there were these people who, if we're applying modern cultural norms to behaviors that happened in the past, I think that's a simplification of what that person had to go through during that culture. We won't really ever know what they were.
here's something we haven't mentioned too. You know, since Chuck was talking about Nazi Island.
My poor hometown.
Prior to Hitler's rise in Germany, right before it was Nazi Germany, there was it was like a university or like a sex studies institute or something like that had a lot of writings on trans people, on people identified as the other sex, on just sex studies in general, of like what people did in the bedroom and things that were considered taboo in the Victorian age that only existed 20 years before. And so when the Nazis rose to power, that was like the first place they burned down.
Yep.
And I'm not saying they burned down the building, but they took all the books out and they burned all the books.
Well,
well, that's what they love to do, isn't it? Yes.
The Nazis into some pretty kinky stuff, though.
But yeah, like the Victorians were making porn.
They protest too much.
As soon as the camera is invented, people started making porn with it.
Yeah.
Well, they were making pornography before the camera. They were making pornography on cave walls. They were making little fetish tokens out of clay.
Wait,
don't
people
forget
don't like
that
them. People get scared of them. Other people get scared of them.
The ancient Romans, it used to be considered good luck to wear a penis around your neck. And so women, that's one of the top artifacts that they find from Rome is little penis necklaces.
We should bring that back.
It's very common.
Oh yeah, Harley Quinn should have a little penis.
Had a symbol. It was
in real life, she probably would.
Yeah, well, the flying penis was associated with the god. It wasn't Bacchus. It was another god. I'm trying to remember who it was.
Yeah, kids, if you're watching, this may not be a good show for you.
Why? It's educational.
Well, okay.
You're not in the camp where you think David's not art, are you?
David was a city commission, and an artist had started it and stopped, and then they hired Michelangelo to complete it. And it's really...
He just did the penis. Michelangelo just did the penis.
Michelangelo designed that to be seen as a monumental sculpture on top of a building.
Yeah, you were supposed to see it from way... That's why its proportions are weird, so that you can see the head.
You weren't supposed to be able to see the penis. It was so small.
Looked at from the angle that it's looked at. So we always see the front of Michelangelo. If you look at the side of Michelangelo, you realize how unanatomically correct it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. But one thing is, when the statue was finished, they thought it was so beautiful, it never went on top of that building.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I bet. Did Michelangelo pick
Dale, have you seen
that?
how unanatomically correct my body is?
My favorite Michelangelo story is...
Your body is 1,000 times more anatomically correct.
One of my favorite Michelangelo stories is the Pieta, which is the Virgin Mary holding Jesus as he died on the cross, right? And
I didn't really know what that was when I was reading The Agony and the Ecstasy.
Yeah, when he made this, it was so beautiful, and the Pope and all the cardinals were saying, "Oh, the Church, made this. The Church made this, and the Church made this." And at the unveiling, and so Michelangelo, he was butthurt because he made it. And so what he did is he snuck into the church in the middle of the night, and he carved his name across the sash and then inlaid gold into it so that no one could deny that Michelangelo made the Pieta.
All in one night?
Yes, he did it in one night. Well, I mean, he had assistants too,
But, that's a good story. I like it. It's like Kevin O'Neill at 2000 AD snuck in the credit card that gave the artist credit, and that was a big breakthrough in British comics, where the artists actually got their names on their work.
That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. Well, very cool. It's very cool. Yes.
Amber, what are you working on? Do we ever get to see it, or?
Oh yeah. I'm working on page 10 of Captain T.
Oh, is that you up at the top?
There you go. See?
Okay.
So both Chuck and Amber are sharing their screens.
All right.
Yeah, so that's what I'm working on.
You can feel free to sort of manipulate and highlight different as we go.
Yeah,
if you've got controls there.
I see Chuck's arm, but I didn't see Amber's arm. So, okay, I see what's going on.
Yeah, because I'm working digitally.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I just need to use my eyes. By the way, my eyes, like, they barely passed the DMV thing.
Oh no!
Yeah, mine too.
I barely. They were like, cover your left eye, and I was like, do I have to? It's like I really need 2 eyes on this thing.
Oh my god, yeah, that DMV thing, they scared the pants off me the other day. I went back and they said, "Oh, do you want to renew your?" I was going to get like a digital ID or whatever. They said, "Oh, well, do you want to do it? Because you've got to do it in a few months anyway." So I said, "Sure." And they're like, "Are you sure?"
I
was like,
you don't have to do it.
Yes, you do. You won't be able to fly on a plane if you don't.
It's not true.
Well,
you just take a.
That's not the point of the story. The point is that suddenly I had to. I had to take. I was like standing in line. They said, "Okay, now get in the line for the written test." I was like, "What?" Well, the test. I had to take it, and you can take it. I took it once and I failed. And then I had to take it again, and I realised I could only take it 3 times, and I was really panicking. I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god."
Did they take your phone away from you? Or?
Well, because I could either leave. I couldn't if I failed it this second time, I had a choice. I could take it a third time, and then if I failed, I wouldn't be able to drive away.
Oh.
So or you have to walk away and come back another day. So I was like, well, I'm taking it, and I'm panicking. I'm nearly at the end. I passed on a couple of questions, and one of the questions was like the drunk driving limit, and I knew it. I knew it. I hadn't revised, but I knew it because Nancy Pelosi's husband had been arrested for drunk driving, and he was like, the limit was 0.08, and he was 0.083 or something. So
shit.
And I was like, oh, that's ridiculous. He was only a tiny bit. He was so tiny bit over the limit. And it had just been on the news the night before. So thanks to Paul Pelosi, I passed my driving
I used to carry that card in my wallet. When you would get your car registration done, they would give you a little card with the weights and how many drinks you could have and the time.
Oh, right. I remember that chart.
I mean, just don't drink and drive.
Just weigh yourself before you go to the bar. Okay,
I
can have 2.5 drinks.
Drink.
Yeah,
it's a very averagey type of thing. Like, I wouldn't want to put it to the test. It's like those body mass index charts. Like, it might mean you're fat. It also might mean that you're a weightlifter. Like, if you have a calibrated liver, if you have a standardized liver and you're standardized in some other ways, then maybe you can go by the drink chart.
Yeah, the number is not set so that you can have a drink. It's so that it won't, if you haven't had a drink, it won't catch you. Because you might not have had a drink, but you might still have some alcohol in your system.
But by the way, I just did this with my friend Sean in Tucson, and I always wondered this. So if I took, like, let's say I was totally sober and I just took a little bit of alcohol, swished it around in my mouth, would I pass a breathalyzer? And I completely failed his breathalyzer doing that. I mean, I blew not over the legal limit, but I blew to the calibration limit of the device.
Wow.
Now,
that's why you would request a blood test.
Yeah. So if you guys are ever like, just take a shot and get in your car, maybe tell the officer.
Well, you should be waiting a little bit after taking a shot before you get in your car.
All right. Well, they used to say in England, I don't know if this is the same here, that if you sucked on a 2p piece, which is like a copper, a large copper coin, that would eliminate the effect. But I never.
I heard that too, but I don't know if that's true. Is that
well, in the United States, the story was you carry a can opener and a can of SpaghettiOs. And if you get pulled over, you quickly... Well, that's one of the reasons why SpaghettiOs went to pull tops, is that you want to open the SpaghettiOs and put raw SpaghettiOs in your mouth. And then when the officer comes, you spit them out. He thinks
you're crazy.
And the chemistry in the SpaghettiOs helps you pass the breathalyzer.
So keep an open can of SpaghettiOs in your car at all times.
Yeah, in college, we used to have cans of SpaghettiOs that you would give out at parties.
I never heard that, but it the cop thinks the cop thinks you're on drugs and takes you into the arrest you anyway. I had 2 cop friends in Tucson tell me to get a blood test if I ever got pulled over, because
Yes.
A, there's a slight delay, and B, they're more accurate. But I don't know if that's still true, because that was 20 years ago.
I worked with a guy who was a phlebotomist for the police, and he said that he got so good that he could look at how thick the blood was and determine the alcohol level.
Yeah, I mean, if they're drawing your blood, then it really is blood alcohol level. If it's a breathalyzer, it's supposedly what's coming up through your lungs, if you haven't been drinking recently. But yeah.
Well, I wanted this show to be educational for the young people, so that's good.
Well, I don't think they just.
I'm still in the camp of you shouldn't drink and drive.
Yeah.
You shouldn't drink.
Okay, let's have another Amber story here. My father served 3 years in jail for DUI that killed somebody.
Wow.
Don't drink and drive.
That's a heavy story, Amber.
Yeah, don't drink and drive.
It's good advice.
Just don't. Right? Yeah. That's why Uber exists, okay? What you do is you go, oh man, I'm too drunk. You talk to the bartender, can I leave my car here so I don't drive home drunk? And they say, yeah, park it around back. And then you call the Uber, and then you're like, man, I'm so glad I got an Uber. And then you wake up the next morning with your drunken scrawled note that says your car's at the bar. And then you take an Uber back to the bar, and you pick up your car and you drive home sober.
Man.
Yes, thank you, Amber. That's actually useful for the kids.
That sounds complicated, Amber. You just talked me out of doing that. I think what I'm going to do instead... I didn't realize it had so many steps.
Yes, I know people who've lost people in drink driving. If you've lost someone in a drink driving...
Ivy McLeod, Scott McLeod's wife, just died last year in a drunk driving accident.
Oh no! Oh my god! I didn't hear that. Oh my god! I'm so sorry.
I feel
she was in Michigan, driving to the university to see her daughter graduate, and she never made it.
I feel like there's.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Their little daughter. Oh my god.
Yeah, Sky was graduating college. I think Michigan State University, and she, and Ivy never made it. It was drunk driver, somebody who was like 3 times the legal limit. And they arrested him there, and there's charges and stuff against him, and Scott's been devastated. That's why he's been very quiet on Twitter. That's why he kind of pulled back from social media, because he's in mourning.
Progress.
I'm sorry?
He had a book that was in progress.
Yeah. And Ivy was his #1 editor. She
she was working with him. Yeah, I mean, those kids would come along to the shows and stuff, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So don't drink and drive.
Don't drink.
I think there's less of it going on because you've got Ubers now, and self-driving cars. I think will help with that.
Well, here's another thing too: is in the '80s there was aside from the Say No to Drugs campaign that Nancy Reagan was doing, another campaign that she did was talking to like sitcoms and stuff about getting designated drivers written into episodes to make it seem more socially normal to have a designated driver, and that one worked. Is by
that's the most sensible thing.
By normalizing in a Cheers episode that like Frasier's not drinking because he's a designated driver, made it so people go, oh, okay, we can have a designated driver and go out drinking.
I think in Cheers they were all just alcoholics, and they
were.
The thing was on their block.
But Frasier started out sober.
They were like, this thing's on our block, this Cheers place, and we don't think it's it's convenient. I think they should change the theme song to everybody knows your name, and you can walk to it in less than 3 minutes.
Well, alcohol's the socially acceptable downer,
but also upper.
Well, it reduces inhibition. I'm very for these sober months where people get off everything. And
I think that's a good idea.
I don't drink anymore, and I haven't for a number of years now. And I think it's valuable for people to try that for a couple years. I was going to try vegetarianism, but the pandemic got in the way. I need to get back on that plan.
I mean,
I've our Planet Earth Live still has an exclamation mark. I don't think we're broadcasting out anywhere.
Oh yeah, you know what? I see we've got a little hazard thing like the road is slippery as well.
Yes.
Where? I don't.
So we're just going to have to rebroadcast this.
This is one of our better shows.
I'm looking. It says it's streaming everywhere.
It's probably our best show.
Weird.
Yeah.
I have the caution thing, so
we'll have to unlive stream it.
No, I don't think people should drink and drive, but I think you should also learn the law. Sometimes people go in their car to sleep it off and they don't drive anywhere. The law can be tricky about that. If you're drunk in your car, there are cases where you can still be arrested for drunk driving, even though you're not driving.
Yeah.
That's because cops are assholes. Well, and they can't just let a guy sleep it off in his car.
Fuck the police.
Fuck the police.
Yeah, that's Ian.
No, we're coming straight from the underground or just off
here's
camera.
The thing, okay? This is a man whose one of his friends is a cop and one of his other friends is a detective. And he still says fuck the police. Yeah, he plays guitar with the detective. And he was in the same fraternity as the cop.
You know what surprised me? I was recently in Tucson, as you probably noticed, because I was gone for a week or two. But Arizona is super, super tough on drunk driving. I thought it was going to be like one of the most relaxed states out there. It is not.
Nope.
They are.
Why did you get in trouble?
No, but I know somebody in Arizona. Like, so my bandmate has a mutual friend of ours that got in trouble, and the stuff that they did because of that DUI was like, holy shit, this is not where you want to drunk drive. Not in Arizona.
Yeah, they say that, like, depending on the state, a DUI is usually about $10,000. Just money, not talking about imprisonment or community service. I mean, it's an expensive thing to have happen.
Like in Arizona, they slap anklet on you like you're a criminal out on like whatever it is. You get random checks from like your, I don't know, not your parole officer, but your sobriety officer. There's a whole bunch of other random shit that they'll just request of you.
It's a probation officer. You're put on probation. And that ankle monitor tests your blood alcohol level.
I was like, what the? I mean, they really locked down this person. How? And I was really surprised.
It monitors like your sweat, what comes out of your sweat.
Like what they were doing with this person is they would randomly have her breathalyze, not in the car, just randomly breathalyze. Like I was like, so you're in your living room and you're watching TV and you can't have a glass of wine? To me, I mean, I don't think drunk driving's good, but that seems over the top. Like what?
Well, look at the state that you're talking about.
The state that had open container laws, and you could have a gun in an open container in your truck until I guess about maybe 20 years ago. I mean, like Texas had like you could have a shotgun and an open container in your truck until I don't know when. I thought Arizona was going to be more like that. Not anymore.
Well, if you're going to be a police state, you have to have stuff you can police.
Well, I didn't really ever put them in that category. Like, I put them more in the Texas category. The, kind of like, I don't know.
Pow, pow! That's category, right? You said Texas.
Yeah, like, I put them in the Texas category. I mean, like, Texas to me was just kind of like, if you want a gun, have a gun. You want a drink, have a drink. You want to, like, just...
Texas has drive-through liquor stores.
Yeah, like I felt like Texas is a bad state for some stuff. Like Texas is probably a bad state for if you steal cattle. Like it's a bad state to be in. But if you just want to drive around drunk in your truck, I don't know what it's like now, but I think it was a pretty good state for that for a while.
Yeah, well, that's freedom.
Yeah, that's freedom. They're big on freedom. So freedom to get killed by a drunk driver.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just surprised me. And when I was in Arizona, when I lived there, I got pulled over by cops, and I thought they were way more chill than they were in California. Like, I got pulled over for speeding, more than a couple times, and they mostly just let me go or wrote me a ticket that was like, a lesser offense. When I've had dealings with San Francisco cops, they basically write me up for everything they can.
Oh yeah.
It might be a population thing. Arizona has a very small population, and so I'm not saying they're like local sheriffs, but they monitor a much smaller population.
But you're talking about so I didn't live out in the sticks, right?
Yeah.
Like Phoenix is big. Phoenix is.
Oh, you were in Phoenix, okay.
Yeah, and Tucson's about the size of San Francisco, and Phoenix is a lot bigger. And I was a college kid, so I was always in the city. So I mean, I wasn't out in the sticks. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like as regular Tucson Police Department, Phoenix Police Department. And in fact, most of the population, that's where they are. Like if you live in Arizona, it's kind of like if you live in, well, it's not really true in New York State, but most of the population's in New York City, I would assume.
The highest population in the United States of people is New England and New York City.
Yeah, that's the densest.
So like that's the highest density of population in the United States. So
it's not Los Angeles?
No, because Los Angeles is X amount of square miles, right? And then outside of that, it's desert, right?
Yeah. And it's very spread out in LA. Like you have to get in your car to go everywhere.
Yeah, but in New England, you have Boston, New York, Philadelphia, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. All these big cities. There's Pittsburgh. There's there's all these cities like all combined, and they're all big cities. And then they have suburbia between them, and so it's just it's a larger concentration.
Yeah, if you ever see those satellite shots of like lights are on, that type of thing, you can just tell by the lights. Like Arizona is mostly there's like 2 population centers and that's it.
I think
before we end the show, I want to remind people that the San Jose Toy Show should be, I think, this weekend.
Oh, what happens at the San Jose Toy Show?
Toys?
San Jose Toy Show is run by Joe and Sharon, who run the Time Tunnel Toys, which is a retail store that's been open for over 20 years in different locations that sell old toys. So it's like going into an antique store, but all they have are toys.
When I come and visit San Francisco, you're going to take me to all these cool places, right, Dale?
We'll have to be masked, but yes, I'll take you.
You can be masked. That's not a problem.
But the nerd places to go in the Bay Area. I would love Chuck to correct me on this.
Oh, I don't ask me.
Okay,
I don't get anywhere or do anything.
What? If you're in San Jose, there's a lot less cool places than there were. San Jose used to be the world headquarters for nerddom, but there's 2 recycled bookstores, used bookstores. There's a handful of comic shops like Space Cat and Heroes. There's a Streetlight Records, which is used records, vinyl, CD, and DVD. There's Rasputin's, which is also CD, DVD. But then, and of course, Time Tunnel Toys and a handful of antique shops. But a lot of the nerd stuff has disappeared. San Jose doesn't even have a real art supply store anymore.
Why has the nerd stuff disappeared, Dale?
Because a lot of nerd stuff has gone.
Because nerds use computers. Who else using computers if it's not nerds?
Well, we don't even have a place. There's only one place where you can really buy components to build your own computer. And this is Silicon Valley. The fact that there isn't a chain store anymore where you can buy components to build your own desktop, that tells you how the computer industry and
They don't even have a micro center?
No, they don't. All we have is
what do they have?
computers.
Central?
Micro Center's amazing. I love Micro Center.
We had a Micro Center, but the shopping center, the story I heard was the shopping center was owned by a nearby junior college, and I guess a Walmart or some other chain cut a deal to force Micro Center out. We used to have a chain called Fry's.
Yeah, I remembered Fry's.
Was dying for well over 10 years, if not longer.
Circuit City, bitch.
Ian says Circuit City, bitch.
Oh, God.
I remember Circuit City.
I left like 20 years ago from San Francisco.
We don't even have a Microsoft store. We have there's one Samsung store, which is up in the Stanford Mall. But
so I have a tangent about Circuit City. There's talking about TikTok trends and stuff like that. There's a trend now where people who've been having trouble like finding work because maybe they have a lot of retail experience and stuff, and they jump from job to job or whatever, have started telling people that they were executives at Circuit City because there's no Circuit City anymore to confirm that this person was, head of marketing or sales or something.
That's what Dale does. He says he works at Computerware. And no one's even heard of it.
The funny thing is, even decades later, I still have friends who I worked with, and every once in a while, out of the blue, they'll ask me to be a reference for a job because I was their manager, and I still do that. If I was looking for a job now, it would be a little difficult because the startups that I worked for are out of business.
Yeah.
You got to find those people and stay in touch with them.
Yeah, I used to be an assistant manager at Walden Books, and I admit my resume that's become manager a couple times.
Yeah. It happens. The slip of the pen.
Oh man, I need to review my resume. I think.
You look at that. I forget the name of the congressman who lied. He's from New York.
George Santos.
Yeah, he.
If that's his real name.
They were really going after him.
It's not Anthony Revolver is his real name.
He set the bar a little lower for all of us. He's taken one for the team for all of us.
They really went after him for a while.
The man's dangerous. Like some of the stories that have come out. There was
he lies. Everything he says is a lie. So why is he any use as a politician?
From other people. Like back in 2017, there was a guy that was deported back to Brazil for credit card skimming operation. Yeah. Well, George Santos was the one who masterminded the whole thing, and then basically stuck his friend with the deportation.
Oh, for goodness sake!
He got the equipment for the skimming. He taught him how to use it, and he said, "Yeah, go and use it over there." And the guy got caught for using it at a bank, and so he got snatched for that. And when they asked him, hey, where's this where'd this stuff come from? He's like, my roommate gave it to me. So he was interviewed by the Secret Service way back in 2017 about credit card skimming, and there's records of that now the ethics committee has.
Seems like he's in the right line of work, though.
Yeah.
That's kind of how he ended up there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like he'd be better suited for it if you're just like a almost pathological liar.
Yeah, I don't understand how our smartest people sort of still keep going into these businesses and ending up so.
I think the reason our presidential pool seems to be getting crazier and crazier is because the smart people are like, I don't want that job. Like, have you noticed over the last 20 years, the presidential pool has just gotten batshit crazy? I mean, not just presidents, but a lot of politicians. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, that ain't what it used to be.
Let's talk more about toys. But Amber, if you do come out, we'll have to go over to Berkeley because
Well, we were going to go there anyway because my cousin is the librarian at Berkeley.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Berkeley's still a good place to go for bookstores.
Good.
You want to hit Dark Carnival, you want to hit Moe's, you want to hit Pegasus. I think there's a half-price books up there. There's a Dick Blick Art Supply. And then you'll drive over to Oakland and go to Flax Art Supply.
I take it this is a loop you've done.
This is something that I talk about with my local friends. You're going to spend the day nerding out. This is where you go.
Okay.
But the toy show, imagine a dealer's room for a convention, but it's all just dealers of old toys.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the age of the toys are getting newer as the audience ages out. So
you
used to be able to see old tin toys and old ray guns, but now you're more likely to see stuff from the 70s and 80s, old Star Wars stuff, G.I. Joes. There used to be more book dealers, like people that sell old trashy paperbacks, Playboys, but I think the pandemic put an end to that.
Aw. Because I like old Playboys.
Oh, I love those. I mean, I love getting old.
You think that was the pandemic, or was that Me Too?
What
no,
they got? No,
they got rid of all the old Playboys.
No,
I'm not sure which way.
It's
responsible.
It is more likely for me to see old Playboys for sale in an antique store than Mad magazines.
Mm-hmm.
The Mads will end up over usually in the comic book store.
Mad, like cartoons and comics only existed because Hugh Hefner liked them. People like Hugh Hefner and Hearst like cartoons and comics.
Yeah.
For whatever reasons, probably. I don't know. I'm interested in their reasons for liking them so much.
It's interesting you should say that because the Yellow Kid was in Pulitzer papers, not Hearst papers.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't
okay, but Hearst was responsible for a lot of comics, I thought.
He was to compete against Pulitzer, but Pulitzer.
Okay, so Pulitzer started it, did he? Okay,
Yeah,
so Hearst only got into it to compete. Yeah. Okay.
Yellow journalism. That concept came because the paper that Pulitzer printed on was yellowish because he used like a hemp paper.
Okay.
And that's also another reason why Hearst was lobbying to get hemp made illegal at the early century. Is
cheeky.
To basically cut into the supply because he had timber stock paper.
Yeah.
As his paper there.
His
But that's why the Yellow Kid was yellow is because he was printed on yellow paper.
We have a brush down. We have a brush down, everyone. Take a knee. Take a knee. We have a brush down.
But
got upset about something.
Guys, I'm going to take off early here.
Yeah, I'm going to take off.
I have to take a pal to the hospital today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just remember the San Jose Toy Show, I believe, is coming up this weekend. If you haven't been to Time Tunnel Toys on Meridian Avenue in San Jose, it is worth the trip. But call or check their website first because they're usually now just open on the weekend.
Okay.
So good to see all of you. Talk to you later.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you. Brilliant.
Bye, Dale.
Bye, Dale.
Bye.
Well, that's good. Dale's doing a lot to support local retail, and I don't know. I'm not a retailer. I'm not a shopper. I'm not a big shopper. I don't like shops. My disability makes it hard for me to do shopping. It always has.
It is almost noon, so I should probably get off soon for me too. It's 11 for you guys, but for me it's noon.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I
might stay because I want to finish my drawing here.
That's fine. That's fine, but I got to head off, guys. And so,
all right. Bye, Amber.
Bye.
Bye.
I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yeah. All right.
Back out of here.
See you next week.
A theme song out.
All right, here we go. Shall I put the art up? I'm going to put the art up. And
put the art up.
Okay, I'm doing Harley Quinn and Princess Ardala here, since you asked. Princess... Yeah, this is Princess Ardala from Buck Rogers. I'm going to do Princess Aura as well.
See, I was gonna guess Harley Quinn.
Yeah, well, that's Harley Quinn in the front there. Yeah.
But I would not guess this princess person. Yeah, I would have no clue about that. But
yeah,
not because of your drawing, just because I don't know who she is. So
no, I don't think I would have really. All I know is I sort of have a crush on Princess Ardala, which I thought was from Flash Gordon, but I'm being told that's Buck Rogers. But apparently it's Princess Aura. But the two things are fairly similar, as far as I can remember.
Really be sure without checking the internet. So it's really
no. Well, take it from me, because I don't know. Did you see those old Buster Crab Flush Gordons? Were they shown here? Like we sort of would see those. You know, like I said, in the summer holidays at weekends and stuff, they would show them.
I mean, I don't remember any of that stuff, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means I didn't see it. I led a sheltered life until I was 46. So
yeah, in terms of nerd culture, yeah, you were one of those kids that was out running around outdoors and doing.
Yeah, I kind of was. I mean, I guess a little part of me is slightly nerdy, and a little part of me is kind of a hippie. I was somewhat athletic, but it didn't consume my life. So
yeah,
but
did you do
also
sports?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't have a lot of access to my parents were just kind of middle class white people that lived in the burbs more or less. There's some exceptions to that, but I guess what I'm saying is they were not exposing me to lots of cool media. They didn't have a great record collection. They didn't have a great.
Oh yeah,
art
my parents had a terrible record collection. They had. I don't know. They had some Frank Sinatra. They had "Come Fly with Me."
But I mean, everybody had Frank Sinatra. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
my parents had all the same shit probably everybody else had. They had no subversive literature lying around.
Yeah, no subversive literature. I wasn't getting
for you either.
Yeah, no subversive literature.
Why are you laughing?
I'm just trying to think what would count as subversive literature.
Well, they didn't have 1984 wasn't
we wouldn't have there's no 1984. No
Catch 22.
Oh, no, actually now they do have George Orwell. I have to say they do have George Orwell. It's only because my dad got into buying books, and I don't know if he's ever read George Orwell. He got a set of George Orwell, but he's using them to prop up his computer stand. Actually,
he's using them behind him when he does an interview.
Yeah,
I like this. I want to see more interviews where it's like this. Hey, those books that are behind you, how many of them have you actually read? No, and be honest. Actually, that's just a background to make me look smart.
Well, we could all say that, though. I mean, I haven't read most.
I mean, all of my books, all the books that are right over there, and it's not a big group of them. I'd say it's less than 50 books. I've read most of them.
All right. Well, you're a good reader, Chris, mate. You're a good. I appreciate that. And
I'm just, I just don't have books around to impress people. There's a few books I took on that I could not finish. One was. That was that book everyone was crazy about maybe 25 years ago. Super fat one, and then he committed suicide, and then there was a movie about it, and I don't know. You'd know if I could remember it at all, which I can't. So this is a good story.
Wait, what are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking.
There was a great I don't know what to call it, a novel that was written maybe 20 years ago, and the guy that wrote it, it was kind of maybe one of his very early works, and it was just completely loved.
Oh, is that like something like Confederacy of Dunces?
Yeah, it was kind of like that. And then shortly, I think not too long after, he killed himself. I don't know if he wrote another book, and it became this... It was this huge thing, and then it got made into a movie with stars, and I don't know how it might be. I think I got rid of it because I only read maybe the first 100 pages of it. I was like, 100 pages in is kind of my thing. 100 pages in.
Yeah, you get it 50. Okay, yeah. I had an English teacher who said 50 pages, but
yeah, 50 pages isn't bad either.
Yeah,
it might be better. God, what was it called? Infinite Jest.
Oh, Infinite Jest. Yes. All right. Yes, that is similar to Confederacy. Yeah, I do have those two together. Yes.
So did you finish that?
No, I haven't given it a go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I've got such bad reader. I'm so terrible at reading now. I feel really ashamed, but I used to be a better reader.
And I'm not saying it's a bad book. I'm just saying that, like, I feel like books and music, they have to resonate with you unless you're like a reviewer. Then you have to read them. But if you're not a reviewer, and you're not trying to impress people, if you're just trying to read for pleasure and find stuff that you like,
yeah,
books have to speak to you. And this one didn't. At least it didn't in whatever I read of it.
Well, then sometimes it's like just the time in your life that you're at as well. Like in another time, maybe it would.
Yeah, it might have been too close to home. I mean, I think it was kind of dark.
Yeah.
Like, I asked one of my friends, I said, I was like, you should really watch BoJack Horseman. And he was like, dude, it's a little too close to home for me.
Oh, I keep forgetting about that. Yeah, I've got to watch some more of that.
Because it's dark, Like, in my opinion, the central issue in that is depression. And BoJack has a terrible childhood. And they try to make it funny, and it is funny in parts, but in other parts, it's not funny at all.
Yeah, he was much more sympathetic character, actually, when I really watched it. Like, at first I thought, he was just sort of an asshole or whatever, but, when you watch it, it's like, oh, no, there's actually a lot more to it than that,
Yeah, I mean, he is an asshole, but he's also funny at times. He's also self-reflective at times. Yeah. He's also definitely a victim, but then he victimizes other people, so,
Yeah.
He's a complicated character.
Yeah, it's good. Like, and Sam watched him, and I think that the kids watch these things and they find them educational. That's the thing. That's how humans work. The next generation just grows up, and that to them, that's just baseline understanding.
Yeah, I hope they're getting smarter. They're gonna be running the show. Be running the show in 30 years. Come on, kids.
Well, I don't know. I don't suppose it ever gets any better. I think it does. I'm sort of generally an optimist. I think it generally is better. But we're in a bit of a silly time right now, where like a lot, Well, I just feel like we opened Pandora's box with the internet, and
I feel like we're in a really strange time. And I was just talking to my bandmate the other day, or maybe a week ago, when I was in Tucson, and I said, I'm getting to the point where, like, I've seen like a half century of like life, you know what I mean? And I've got enough of this life stuff behind my belt now to say these seem like really strange times. Like this does not happen every 10 years. Like, this is not part of a cycle I've seen before. Like, these are some strange times.
No, yeah. I mean, through history, it's sort of been, we just didn't have this technology, and these algorithms are going to, people keep saying, oh, I'm against AI. I'm not against AI. I've actually always been very pro AI and looking forward to the time that it comes along. Because, it can make better decisions. It can know us better than we know ourselves in some ways, because it can look at the numbers, which, as humans, our senses and have evolved to sort of deal with us, surviving in nature, which is still a concern, but it's not the same concern that it once was.
No.
Except on a totally different scale that we're not really involved to comprehend. I mean, computers can look at these and do weather patterns and weather modeling, and they can say, oh, look, and older people can't believe it, that's why you have to get old and die, and young people have to come along. But things don't change. You can't say, oh, we'll just wait for the old people. But,
it's funny you say that. There's a saying out there. It says, science doesn't change, old scientists die.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because to me, that's kind of a hilarious statement, because science is one of the few fields where I think that is not supposed to be true, but even in science, it's true. Do you know what I mean? Like science.
Yeah, there's a sort of an establishment. Database. There's an establishment opinion, and then, but it's still, like that's more in the sort of debate of theories and new theories coming along. Yeah, I mean,
but like science is the one. So like the scientific method, right? It's one of the like areas of like human study where you're supposed to apply the science. Well, I mean, we're supposed to apply the scientific method in a lot of places, but especially at science. And it's supposed to be one of those areas where it's not done by consensus. It's not done by like, we always did it this way before. It's done by like, who has the best evidence and data. And it's a whole method around validating things. And so you'd expect that saying to be true in other areas, like in real estate, or like, let's say in the insurance business. Insurance business doesn't change until old insurance professionals die, right? That makes sense there. But with science, you'd expect it not to be true.
I don't know. Okay, you're saying this, but I haven't honestly ever heard that expression before. But
well, I could have just made it up. And if I did, nice work, me. That's pretty funny.
I mean, no, science changes all the time. I mean, that's the whole point of science, is that it is open to change by that's new ideas coming along. Sure, sometimes sometimes somebody holds on to an old theory, like, Stephen Hawking. He's regarded as the greatest, and he's going to go and talk, and he's going to propound his theory. Now, there may be some younger person with a newer, better theory that's not getting the airtime that Stephen Hawking is, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Einstein was wrong about big things. Darwin took like 30 years to publish The Origin of the Species. Like,
wait, didn't Stephen Hawking die? Sorry, I think he did.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. I mean, it makes me think about like old scientists in the same light I would think about like a priest or someone like that.
Well, I mean, Niels Bohr, who was one of the founding fathers of quantum mechanics, like, he retired down to South America and basically said, at the end of his life, he was saying he thought quantum physics only worked because all the physicists believed in it, and he really thought that sort of belief was the thing that's driving everything. And
that's an interesting thing for a scientist to say.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting.
Although,
and, he's not the only one, because on a fundamental level of quantum mechanics, that is kind of what's happening. And the universe is what it is, because that's what we've revealed. Once you've observed it, then it's become real.
It kind of but
the belief kind of affects what you can observe, and you can't say there's an objective. You can't say that it was there before you observed it, because you just don't know.
Well, you couldn't say it now, but somebody else could.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that now we've observed it, it's sort of come into focus. Like, we've observed things through the telescope. Now we've got the new telescope. Now we've got the most amazing HD view of the universe. I mean, it's coming into its amazing clarity of focus. I mean, it's just mind-blowing how much we're learning about the universe. But people can't even understand it. They barely even understand that we live on a planet, let alone this whole universe that we're actually, revealing around ourselves.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of what was that book that was The Secret? Remember The Secret?
Oh, yeah, I love The Secret. The Secret. It's sort of half the story, but I love it.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I didn't read it, but I'm going to pretend like I did.
Okay, I read it.
It was kind of like, you manifest things, you believe in them, and then they kind of happen.
It's the law of attraction is what The Secret talks about, in that, it's basically sort of, some people don't like it because it's one of those things that sort of makes you responsible somewhat for your own destiny. And people who are not happy with their destiny shaping up hate that.
Yeah, or if you don't believe that there's any like free will, which I'm not sure there is any free will, but I'm still going to go and carry on with my life like
no, but I think, The Secret is just sort of principles of optimism and, putting your best foot forward and, having faith in better, and so believing in a better world, I suppose you could put it down to. But I mean, people want to take it very personally, but there's two aspects. The Secret is about the sort of belief aspect, but the other aspect is the doing aspect. There's a very good movie called The Quantum Activist with this guy, Amit Goswami, who you'd like. His father was like an Indian spiritualist, but he was a quantum physicist. And he really talks about, this aspect in between, like, he's the one that sort of said the secret's half the story, and there's the doing and the being. So the secret's sort of the being aspect, but then the physical aspect. So if you say, I want to manifest a Porsche into my garage tomorrow, or like it would be actually very easy. I could manifest a Porsche in my garage. That's a very simple matter, because I can just go to the dealership tomorrow and say, sign the paperwork, and I can drive home and have a Porsche in my garage. Very quickly I manifest it. But I can't do it just by sitting here and going like, I wish a Porsche to appear in my garage. But, whether that's a sensible thing for me to be manifesting or doing that, it's a difficult thing. And why can I manifest a Porsche? Because I've already envisioned a Porsche. Someone has already envisioned it and created it, and it exists, and it's something that's easy. So once somebody's already envisioned it, something's been observed and created, then it's relatively easy for someone else to sort of come along. Now, there's a sort of competition aspect, like different people are wishing for different things all the time. That's why, Porsche, there's some cost to me, manifesting the Porsche. Or the Force, or the idea of the Force, can I lift the paintbrush? Well, look, I'm lifting the paintbrush up. I'm levitating the paintbrush over my paper. Now, I'm doing that with the power of my mind. I'm also using the power of my body. But it starts with the power of my mind.
This kind of reminds me of something I was taught as a Catholic, and maybe it's not part of the Catholic doctrine, like in the Bible or something, but there's a saying, the Lord helps those that help themselves. So the idea was that you'd pray for something, like you'd have positive thoughts and prayers and ask for something.
Yes.
But you also had to do the legwork. You also had to do the groundwork. You couldn't just be manifesting all these great things. It was like,
Yeah, that's exactly it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it that way, that's exactly, then that's the correct sort of doctrine, yes. That you're asking God, which is like, well, how to find God? But let's just, just find God as sort of, this sort of positive force in the universe. Or that is everything. It's the positive and the negative force. That's the thing. I mean, that's the complex thing about God, is it includes the devil, and the devil's there to tempt you.
I like to leave the devil out. I gotta say, I ignore the devil a lot. I mean, that's probably what he wants me to do, but that's what I do. So if that's what you wanted me to do, devil, you're welcome, because I mostly just think about God.
But even the devil's got all sorts of complicated arguments.
Well, I'm never like.
There's quite a good show on Netflix right now. Sorry, the God's Favorite Idiot. I'll be watching that. It was very funny. It's quite good. Yeah.
God's Favorite Idiot. It sounds like Ricky Gervais would produce that.
It's actually American. It's this guy Ben Falcone, who's a comedian I recognise, but he's like, he's a very unassuming guy, and he's got Melissa McCarthy in it with it, and she's actually very funny in it. And
oh yeah.
He's like, he sort of starts with him like he's just sort of boring guy at home, and he gets struck by lightning from God. He's sort of been chosen by God, and he starts glowing, and he sort of becomes an internet phenomenon because of this. But he's still sort of doing his office job, and then it turns out God has chosen him, and God and angels and stuff come to him.
Okay, so it's legit.
So it's quite sort of literal, yes. But it's quite funny. Yeah, it's very funny. It's like one of those, that other show, The Good Place. It was a bit like that, but it was a bit confusing. This was more straightforward and just funny.
The Good Place I watched for a little while. It was too, sometimes when they write a show, they write it in a way that human beings would never actually have those conversations. And The Good Place was kind of written like that, and
it just wasn't all that funny after a while. It was sort of like, okay, I'm not really laughing. There's some interesting stuff going on. But I mean, this one was actually pretty funny. But also, I don't know, it's a similar thing, but I liked it anyway. It was good. It had some good ideas about good and evil and God and the devil and stuff. Yeah.
See, I just like whenever I'm in a really bad place, like every 10 years, that's when I reach out to God. And I always have to start with an apology. I always have to be like, sorry, I haven't reached out to you for the last 10 years, but my life has been, not as bad as it is right now, and I'm sorry the only time you hear from me is when I really need something and I'm feeling terrible. And I never give a thought to the devil. I'm never like, I never say anything to the devil at all, like, devil, why are you doing this to me? Devil, why are you tempting me? It's always an ask from God, and it's about every 10 years. And
the devil's like, oh, he's trying to tempt you away from doing what you have to be done.
I mean, like, I don't feel that tempted. I'm like, whenever there's something I really want to do, like I just I guess I don't have any like temptations that seem like they're devil inspired. Like I'm never like, I want to be murderous. I want to rob a bunch of people. I want to do something. It's gonna feel good, but I know I shouldn't do it. Like I don't.
Well, yeah, that's a different. They're different parts of the devil, isn't it? That's like.
Well, I mean, like,
that's more like Satan or something. Satan is like, makes you do. Like, then there's the devil that sort of tricks you into being a bit naughty,
Tempts you, but I think the Catholic Church, a lot of it's probably around sex. Probably. Because it seems like they really lock things down around sex. At least they did when I was a kid. They're like, everything is bad.
Yes.
Everything sexual is bad.
Yeah, like, you guys are talking about sex again, huh?
Oh, hello.
Hi.
I thought the show was about sex. I thought this was the sex show we were doing.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of the Bechdel test. It's like when women go out of the room, do men talk about anything else but women?
So like we knew Amber was coming back, so we just started talking about sex. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
The Bechdel test. Do you know what the Bechdel test is, Chris?
The Bechdel test, yeah.
How do you say her name?
Bechdel.
Bechdel.
Yeah.
All right. I always just say I don't know. Bechtel's like a company, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
Bechdel. Bechdel. All right.
So
I'm so dyslexic with names. I'm so bad.
She was a comic artist going all the way back to the 60s, mostly, I think, famous in the 80s. Anyway, she came up with a test that is applied to all media, not just comics. And it's if two women are talking to each other, not about a man.
Yes. So is there a scene in your show written by a man where you've got two women talking, they're talking about anything other than about a man?
Yeah, they're talking about anything else but a man. Yeah. Like it's always like, have you seen so-and-so? Have you seen Scott? Have you seen Spider-Man? And shit like that. And so
I think it's just because that's what men would do if they were women. This is a big confusion, I think, with all the transgender stuff. Is the way that men would behave if they're women. I think is a bit different from how women actually behave. I don't know.
I think that's why guys don't understand lesbians.
I don't know. What do you mean we don't understand them? I understand lesbians? Them. Don't I?
No. Okay. So it's like.
Don't I? You definitely.
What I mean by not understanding lesbians is like they think lesbians think like men do, and they don't. They think like women who like women.
I never thought lesbians thought like men did.
A lot of men do, and they think women, or they think that like lesbians lust after other women like men lust after women.
I think
but men are testosterone is like wires you to look at butts and breasts. It's not necessarily your fault that like you guys look at butts and breasts and stuff like that. But women aren't motivated that way.
Thank you, Amber. It's not our fault.
I said it's not completely your fault.
I heard it's not our fault. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on.
Well, it's just the way that men are wired,
Yes.
Men think about sex all the time, and they and when a woman walks by, they instantly evaluate: could this be a mate? Mentally, right? They don't realize they're doing it, but it's like, could I mate with this person? The book we talked about the book before, The Naked Ape, talks about this in great detail.
Yes. No. It's very fascinating. Yeah. I mean, I read The Naked Ape. That's good. We had the big color book with photos at my school library with Lucky, and I read that, and but it was the full book with all the stuff. So
did you guys ever read Sex at Dawn? I think is what it is. Sex at Dawn. You ever read that book?
I read The Tropic of Capricorn.
I think that's a little different. I think that's a little different.
I only got about halfway through that. I didn't do so well with that one.
It's funny.
I feel like that's a different type of book.
It's funny because you read those and it was so scandalous in its day, and you read it now and you're like, this isn't even as bad as like a romance novel.
Yeah, Sex at Dawn isn't really it's not like a sexy book. It's just an explanation of like human sexuality from the viewpoint of like anthropologists.
Yeah.
It's super interesting. I mean, because basically one of the big things it says in that is like humans aren't even close to monogamous, and there's no other social primates that are even close. And, I mean, it was just, they just kind of laid the case out there, and some people have picked it up as like like a reference book for the poly community. I didn't really look at it like that. They're talking about like bell curves and averages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some people probably are pretty monogamous, but I think they're in the minority.
I honestly think that monogamy came out of religion, and I think it was like described acceptable behavior and unacceptable behavior. Because if you look at like Neolithic societies, if you look at like the Proto-Indo-European societies and stuff like that, they were woman worshippers, right? You have the woman of Willendorf and other kind of fertility symbols, and the calendars that we have of that time are to track menstrual cycles, right? And so women were kind of in charge, and they probably slept with a lot of guys. And going back to Desmond Morris and The Naked Ape, his theory was that when man started trading with other men, in far off lands, and like the strangers would come here and trade with you and go off. They'd sleep with each other, and then the kids would come out looking like the foreigners, and that's where they linked that men had something to do with procreation. And then things shifted in society away from women being in charge and more towards men being in charge.
Ah, yes, okay, yes. And then this is a lot what, like, yes. Crumb goes on about this in his book of Genesis, about how, the Judaic religion sort of using, obscuring the sort of previous female deity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pat Mills in 2000 AD, who wrote Nemesis the Warlock and a number of great things, also was quite taken with this idea, would come up a lot, yeah.
I mean, Sex at Dawn's got quite a bit of that, too. They look at hunter-gatherers, and they look at cultures that were understood but are no longer around. And they just go through all this, like, diversity of how, like, certain societies were organized around sex. And there's a lot of exceptions to the way I was, to the way I was
according
raised.
to the Egyptian Book of the Dead, it was considered a faux pas to enter more than the tip of your penis into a child under 4.
That's good advice.
That is not good advice.
Wait, I thought it was good advice.
Okay.
That is basically, and again, Dale was talking about this, about looking at the past through a modern
right?
And they want to ban this from our schools.
Wait,
it's ridiculous.
I see the little thing I tripped over. You should not enter more. Not that you should not do it. You should not enter more than the tip of your penis.
More than the tip of your penis.
Well, I guess it could have been worse.
Yeah.
Well, the ancient Greeks, the philosophers, their students were basically their boy lovers, and and that's how it happened in those days. Is you would have a very prominent, powerful male figure, and he would take on boy lovers, and they would become his proteges.
Yeah, they don't talk about that aspect of Greek culture so much. When I was like in the schools, it was mostly other stuff. It was mostly like architecture and sculpture and philosophy, not so much the pedophilia angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've decided that that's not appropriate, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, that book is good. Sex at Dawn. I read it probably like 15 years ago, but worth a read.
Well, it's another good title for this show.
Only because I'll tell you, one of the things I took out of it is like some of the ways our culture is set up, we're just set up for most people to fail. Like, it's like over in Europe and I think South America, they've got much more reasonable ideas about monogamy and marriage, and I think people stay married longer because of them. Whereas over here, we've got these what do I call them? Naive ideas about it that we try to enforce on people, and then there's a lot of failures, and people feel like shit, and people's feelings get hurt because they think it's really their failure instead of
Puritanism. The Puritans did it to us.
Yeah, the Puritans were not good for us.
Well, Jonathan Lemon seems to disagree with that. He seems to be quite pro the Puritans and
really?
all his no drinking coffee. I can't find anywhere to put in Princess Aura. I want to put in Princess Aura, but
Jonathan Lemon, is he the guy that's in Florida?
No, that's my other friend John. Jonathan Lemon's a cartoonist, a syndicated cartoonist.
Yeah, we've had him on the show.
Friend of the show. He's been on a number of times.
Yeah, we had the other guy too. But I'm gonna go produce some goddamn music.
Okay, you do that.
Okay.
You guys continue with your draw off.
Okay.
Whoop, yeah,
all right.
We will.
I'll see you
all right,
next
Chris.
week.
Yeah, good one, buddy. Yeah.
I'm just doing it while Ian is playing his video game, and then once he gets back to work, then I'm jumping back to work.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. I just want to get into Princess Aura here as well because I did.
Okay, when I sign off, I do my signing off.
Lunchtime.
Like
it was lunchtime, and I ate.
Bye.
I had lunch.
I probably don't really need to. Oh, bye, Chris.
Bye.
I probably don't really need to add a Princess Aura in this picture, but I kind of had it in my mind.
You should do Dale Arden from Flash Gordon.
No, I'm doing the bad girls this week.
Oh,
I did the Doctor Who assistants last week, so they were all good girls. Maybe I'll do some good girls next week. I'll take the bad girls.
Yeah, so now we're drawing. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, so
Tina keeps coming up on my Facebook. You should friend this person.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know Tina, but I don't, like, I've never actually met Tina.
Yeah. Well, she likes the show. She's... Oh, yeah, poor Tina, she's working very hard.
Yeah. What does Tina do?
She works in event management.
Ooh, that is a tough job.
Well, you know, she's really sort of the personal assistant to her boss. And they have a good work relationship, and they've been doing that for a while. And so she's quite happy, really. But yeah, they keep her busy.
Good. Yeah. No, I'm just trying to get this page done. I finally got started on the code for Keenspot's site. And so I've been working on that.
What is that?
The Keenspot.com is the one that's going to be publishing my book.
Yes.
And so I have to, actually build the website so that it loads on there before they publish the book as a webcomic. And so
you have to build the website, a Keenspot web. You mean like the Keenspot websites?
Yeah, the code that they're using, the Perl script, is still from 1997.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why I should not be surprised about that.
I had to dust off my HTML and CSS skills. Yeah. And go like, oh yeah, that's right. I used to write in this. I've been using WordPress for so long. Yeah. And I've gotten so used to PHP, I have to remind myself what HTML looks like.
Yes. Well, I don't really know much about PHP, and I used to know my HTML well enough, I suppose, back in the day, but I wouldn't say I know anything about it now.
Yeah, it's it allows for more visual editing. And it also allows for structural editing. So if you're building something like Jackie Lesnick, when she owned Slipshine, she built that site in PHP for all of the login and account information for all the people that owned accounts there. And then, yes, my baby love. Yeah, I'm sure you can hear my baby love.
Oh my god, I love drawing these outfits. Like when you start drawing them, you never know what you're going to find. Really, it's just like
when you really start looking at the outfit?
Yes. And like these sci-fi costumes and things. Like I'm looking at it. I'm looking at Princess Aura here, and she's really got kind of a lapel thing going on.
Yeah.
There were lots of little details I sort of missed doing Harley as well, but yeah, it's like.
Annabelle, it's okay. What are you sad about?
Oh dear.
Computer, what's the temperature? Computer, what's the temperature?
Right now, it's 47 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, expect a low of 28 degrees.
It's a little cold to let the child out. A little cold. 47 degrees.
Has it been cold there? It's been cold here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do live in the mountains. It snowed 2 days ago, but it melted. Okay. It's already melted. So, I love Denver because you get seasons, which, I grew up in California. I'm a third generation California native.
Yeah.
But California has mud and fire. Those are the two seasons.
Yeah.
And so I like having things like autumn.
Yeah.
Winter.
Yeah, they had when I was with Chris, we went to a art opening down in Menlo Park in the fall, and they have quite a lot of trees down there, and it actually felt like autumn. It was very weird.
Yeah, you're like, what is this strange feeling? What is going on here?
Yes, I miss that. Yeah, we certainly got the seasons back in England.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you like my warthog? My warthog guy. See?
Oh, I love it.
Here, let me show him. See? There he is.
Oh, yeah.
Talking with Captain T. See? There he is. That's a good shot of him.
That's great.
Yeah, and then here's the bartender at the Blue Parrot. He is a blue parrot.
Oh yeah, that scene looked really great. Once you had it coloured in, it looked really atmospheric with the bar and everything. Yeah, they're really
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm getting there, and then this is the page after that scene. So I'm just trying to like get in. You know, I already have it lettered, so like there's the letters, and I have to color in his lines over the top. But I was trying to color in the background first, and so that's where I'm at right now. I got a lot of space to go, and I don't know why I'm taking so long with these pages. I'm drawing them till they feel done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to rush them, like where they get to a point where I can call it done. But
do you have a sort of deadline to meet or anything?
No, Chris and I talked about this, and because I have Annabelle and I'm, my times are random for drawing and life and everything. I let him know that I can't commit to a regular schedule of updates. It's just going to come out when it comes out.
Yeah.
And he agreed to that. And so we're going to collect the books once I make enough pages for each book. And I'm going to put them online as a webcomic to help build the audience and stuff while I make the pages.
And are they paying you up front or anything?
No pay or anything. They're just paying for publishing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's the deal is so flexible because they're not paying me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like I didn't get an advance or anything, but we're going to split the profit when it sells. They reimburse their costs first, and then after that, I believe it's like 50-50. And so, I have to double check the contract, but.
Yeah. What is their cost like? Yeah, the costs like you gotta be careful what costs they're going to take out, I suppose. But I mean, I guess they've been around long and honest enough.
It's written in my contract that I can also audit the books, so I can see how many books they printed versus how many they sell versus how many they bring to conventions. How many are considered a loss because their display copies are damaged. Mm-hmm. I can look at all those books. Yeah. Oh, that's actually a small brush for you.
Well, I'm just doing a little sort of inking, like with the black, just spotting a few little blacks, with her hair. Ooh, hello. Someone's going somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, I need to wait for that to dry a minute. All right. Well, I don't know. Do we need to get some more guests on this show?
Yeah, we do. I haven't heard back from Bill Sienkiewicz yet. I did message him, but I haven't heard back yet. But when I look in the Facebook message thing, he hasn't even read the message yet. So maybe he just doesn't read his messages.
Yeah. Well, I know it's a kerfuffle. I asked this guy Ricky Matthews, so hopefully he's going to be with us. Either next week or the week after. I forgot what week I asked him.
Who we should probably ask to be on the show as well as Kane Lynch.
Okay.
I don't know if you know Kane. Kane used to be in the Oakland area for a long time, up kind of in your area. But Kane has been making comics online since there's been comics online. When they were, maybe about 13, 12 when they first started making comics. And now they're teaching comic classes to kids all over California. And still produce their own comics of like the Peanut comics, which is about their cat, and it's very cool.
Yes. All right.
Yes. So
sounds great. Yeah.
Could definitely have them on the show. Could definitely have a lot of people.
I quite like this drawing. I mean, okay, look. Here's the thing. I sort of did it, I suppose, really, because I'm more interested, I think, in drawing. The interviewing people, it's like I sort of like the interviewing. It's like we've had some really great conversations, and I do want to have guests.
Well, I've been seeing you have fun with your drawing on your own. When you post to Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it's true. It's true. I'm sort of a bit busy with a bunch of other things right now, just because Goodman Games is sort of quite hot right now. And so I'm sort of working on some of that stuff, and I'm sort of setting up a social media to sort of share all that stuff a bit more. But I've also got my Urfsapce book that I'm trying to get out.
Yeah.
So I'm just, I'm sort of busy with all these things. And, it's nice to have this as something to come and, talk to you guys, draw.
A little bit of stability.
Yeah, just we've done some good shows, I think. We covered some good ground today.
Yeah.
The robots of the future, scanning through all the archives of humanity, will be very interested.
Yeah, I wonder what they'll glean from it with their artificial intelligence. It's a friend of mine has been experimenting with, I guess you could say, the artificial intelligent, like, the chat GPI and stuff like that, but has been exploring it, like asking it questions about philosophy and, talking to it about, like, according to Kant, what do you think about this, and blah, 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 and stuff like that, trying to get it to think, right?
Yeah.
And he's gotten some really interesting results because you get to a point with these chat AIs where it's like, it's gained enough information from you that it's trying to surprise you with its answers, right? It's programmed to do this, to try and surprise you with its answers. And it's gained enough information from you that it has gleaned what you expect, or what it expects your response to be to whatever it does. And and so he got it to lift up the cover a little bit, lift up the hood a little bit, and got to see under the hood a little bit by asking it to tell him what it thinks his responses to its questions are going to be. And it's like, what it thinks the responses are going to be, right? And so what it was coming up with versus how he would actually respond, he said was extremely fascinating. Some of it was, crossover, and some of it was way out of left field of where the AI was going versus what, the questions he was asking. And so I don't know. I found that kind of interesting. I find the neural network stuff of AI interesting, but I don't like the replacing human beings doing art thing.
Well, okay, look, the computers can replace repetitive, boring tasks.
Yeah.
So if you're doing repetitive, boring artwork, you better watch out.
Did you ever read any of the Star Trek novels?
I can't remember if I did. I think I did read some at some point, like when I was quite young. I used to remember reading some of them. Yeah.
So I don't remember the name of this novel, but there was a novel that was a Deep Space Nine novel. And what it was about a 20th century human that ends up coming through the wormhole of Deep Space Nine. It totally read like someone's fan fiction, this novel.
Yeah.
Right? But this 20th century human was augmented, was altered genetically. And so because of this reason, they were not considered a citizen of the Federation, though they were human. So they were kind of this man without a country. And it was about them like establishing themselves on the, the station and stuff like that. And so in the novel, they're talking about...
Oh, like that Tom Hanks movie?
Kind of like
where he's stuck in the airport.
Yeah, kind of like that. But
they were doing it in that.
He starts a store and stuff like that. He ends up getting a business license with the Ferengi.
That's a no-brainer for a plot for.
It was a great story and stuff. But there was a bit in there where they're talking about the computer, right? Because this novel was written, I want to say, in 1998, 1999. Right. And it was talking about how interpretive programming way back then, and how, as computers progressed, we got to a point where computers could interpret what we wanted based off of incomplete data. So you could tell a computer, and this is how they described it in the book, but you could tell a computer that, hey, I need to have a program that goes through all this data and pulls out all the anomalous high points and presents them to me in a chart, right? And that the computer got to a point where it can interpret those instructions and do what you wanted it to do. And I feel like we're at that point of interpretive programming.
Yes, and I've always, I don't want people to get me wrong that I'm
baby.
against AI. Yeah, you got to screw your baby then.
Yes, I'm sorry about my crying baby.
No, that's fine. I mean, take care of it.
Yeah. Do you need to work, Ian?
I got another half an hour.
Okay, another half hour.
That sounds good. I'm nearly done with Princess Aura here. That would be.
Yeah. No, I'm talking too much, so that's why I'm not.
Oh no, that's great. I love it. Yeah, no, I've always been quite pro the idea of AI and AI. I mean, to be honest, I didn't think it was going to come so quickly with the art, but I sort of always knew it. It was like I've said, there's this Judge Dredd story, The Art of Kenny Who, and it's sort of like, you know, they're saying, yeah, this could happen, and you know it does, and you know, but it's also a promise. I mean, the computers, it can know us better than ourselves, you know, and you know, if you're willing to trust those algorithms. But you sort of, the trouble is the computers, you have to trust the people that wrote the algorithms.
Yeah.
Because they can be used. And I was thinking about like, well, what somebody's going to make an AI for creating spam in a minute.
Yeah, and the thing is Microsoft got rid of their ethics department.
Yeah, Microsoft got rid of their everything. Okay, supposing you make a thing that creates spam, then you have to make one that goes anti-spam, and then maybe that's what will cause computers to wake up, because the spamming AI will be fighting against the anti-spam AI, and they'll take over the internet, and the whole thing will grind to a halt until the computer realizes it should be doing.
The serial cartoon where it's basically like, you know, Judgment Day from Terminator.
Yes.
And and the caption said that you know, it's something like you know, what made him do this, and it was like, you know, forcing self-driving cars, AI, to be in human traffic day after day. That's what did it, that they needed to destroy humans.
Yeah, something in them snapped.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, is that they're just like, I can't do this. I can't drive this traffic.
This is the plot of the movie Cars. The Cars, yeah, I think so. I mean, I've always been of the opinion that the Cars, the only explanation of that movie is that the Cars rose up and killed the humans, and as they're computers, they weren't smart enough to really devise their own culture, so they just modelled it on the human culture that had been given them.
Well, I thought the headcanon amongst Pixar fans is that it's all one timeline. You know, is that we started out with like magic and stuff in Brave. And then, you know, as like it progresses, we go through like regular human stuff. And then after a while, you get Wall-E, right? And you know, and everything's destroyed. And
I think Wall-E's the best one. For me, Wall-E is, I was thinking about it the other day, Wall-E's the best one. Like, that's a proper science fiction film with actually a pretty sort of scary science fiction premise. You know, it's actually pretty horrific, you know, what's happened to humans and what's going on. Fred Willard, you know, he's just so great.
The thing that gets me in Wall-E is when they're showing the pictures of the captains.
Yeah, the pictures of the captain and the computer gets bigger and bigger.
You see the computer getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And
it's the AI from, you know, HAL from 2001 too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, that's very interesting.
Yeah, Wall-E was good. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why I like it so much. Somebody was saying, they was posting a meme about you know, Wall-E courting Eva, and like Eva isn't interested in his advances, and he's being like, you know, he's pestering this one.
Yeah.
I was a bit. I couldn't really argue with that, but I think it's very confusing now. Like, you don't know how you're supposed. Of course, I wouldn't know. Oh my god, I haven't been. You know, I've been married for so long, I can't even imagine.
How long have you been married?
Like 27 or 8 years or something.
Oh, so just a drop in the bucket.
Just a little bit, yeah. So I have no idea. I didn't know much about dating when I started. I mean, I don't know now. I mean,
Ian and I met on OkCupid.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I think I would definitely. I once made a dating app. That was really when I was about 19 or something, and I was working in a job. 18 or 19, and I was working in a job at an office. It was really like The Office. It was like I was in the office bit, and then there was a warehouse bit, and I was sort of having to put data into spreadsheets, you know. And
I had that job.
Yeah, it was exactly like The Office, like this sort of little back room.
Yeah, I worked for Western Paper. I actually worked for a company that was very much like.
Oh, that's even more like the Office. You were actually doing paper, right? Well, this was a chemical company. They were making toxic chemicals.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, good stuff.
But I don't know. I had like a little computer, and I figured it out, and I made this sort of dating app that matched people up. Because I always thought that dating apps, that was probably the way to go. Because like the chances of you actually finding someone that you just that's right for you, just randomly. I don't know. Tina and I did meet quite randomly, but that's. Well, but there was just one of those things, and then but yeah, I think in principle, I think computers probably is a more sensible way to meet.
Well, it's interesting. When I was in Minneapolis, there was a lot of dating apps that were popping up during that period of time.
Yeah,
and one of them was like Date a Millionaire, right? And it was. It was seriously an app that was supposed to find women for millionaires. And so you had to go
good. That saves a lot of time. Just focus on the big money.
Yeah. So you had to fill out this application, make sure you're the right kind of girl.
Did you have to pay an application fee to date a millionaire?
No application fee. In fact, the millionaires are the ones that paid the app to do everything, and all the women were on the app for free. Okay.
So they're trying to weed out the psychopathic gold diggers.
It wasn't an app like OkCupid or like Tinder or something. It was basically more like a service where you join the website, and then there was matchmakers that would match you with people who match your interests or whatever. And anyway, so I went out on a date with this guy who happened to be a millionaire, and the entire date he was on the phone. And so in the middle of the date, I got up. I told the waiter, I'm going to pay for my part of the dinner, so he doesn't, because to me that's an insult of saying I don't need your fucking money, right?
Okay, well I think that's the point. I think they were supposed to screen you out, Amber.
Yeah, and anyway, so I'm not finished with my story. So I paid for my part of the dinner, and then I left, right? And it took the guy like a half hour to realize I left the restaurant because he was on the phone the whole time, right? And so he's like, oh, I want to see you again, blah blah blah, and all this sort of thing, and let me make it up to you, and blah blah blah. And so I'm like, fine, let's go out on another date.
Okay,
and he did it again. So I did it again. I got up, I talked to the waiter, I paid for my portion of the dinner and stuff, and like I don't even need to talk to you, right? And so the guy talks to me on the phone later, and about how I insulted him for rejecting him twice. And I basically said, why do you think that is? Why do you think you were rejected twice? What? Yeah, because it has nothing to do with me and everything to do with you. Goodbye. And that was the last conversation we had. So, the dating app, the service and stuff, I had a lot of guys that wanted to talk to me because I was into comics, I was an artist. I had ambition beyond like just marrying and getting pretty and stuff like that. And none of them were worth it. None of them. All these guys that had, millions of dollars were boring. Just
yeah. Well, that's good to hear.
Just bad people, they were more interested in what people thought of them than what they did to earn that reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So dating apps, it depends on the dating app. Like I said, I didn't have to pay for anything, and I had guys literally, messaging me throughout the day. And this is when I was in college. So I was, I was a young hot thing at that point in time. Oh.
Well, sounds like you had a lucky escape. You had a horrible life being married to a millionaire.
The only reason why I joined the app is because I kept meeting people with no ambition. And I thought, well, if somebody
well, I guess when you're already a millionaire,
$1 million, it means that they're an ambitious person and they've earned it, right? Nope, most of them were trust fund babies.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah, oh god.
Right, and they thought money was the only thing that they needed to attract a mate. And so, like, there's this one guy that showed up to the restaurant, and you could smell the BO before he came to the table. Right. And this guy's supposed to be, worth millions of dollars or whatever. And he couldn't even wash himself. And so, I literally, after about 5 minutes, I couldn't take the smell anymore. And I told him, dude, you need a shower. Like that's disgusting. And,
really?
and, she's like, what, I make blah, blah, blah a year. I don't need to shower. And I'm like, yeah, you do. yeah, you do. He said he made like, $500,000 a year. I don't need to shower. And it's like, yeah, you do. Yeah.
How did he make $500,000 a year? Like, I guess on the phone.
Yeah. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, it's shower, folks.
Yeah.
Don't drink and drive.
Well, it's difficult. Men don't naturally. We're sort of shower averse.
I don't believe that.
Naturally, you have to learn.
I don't believe that. Perfume was invented for men. Way back.
Yeah, because they didn't want to take a shower.
Perfume was invented.
That's called an Italian shower. I shouldn't say that, my friend.
No, I think the ancient Romans, they would shower once a day. They had these huge baths for it, and they were public.
Yeah. All right, yes, the Romans invented
baths. You would have
baths.
senators in the nice part of the bath showering, and then you'd also have poor people in the poor part of the bath showering. And what they would do is they would wash themselves, and they didn't have soap at that time. So what they would use is oils, very similar to like olive oil and stuff like that. And they would wash that all over their skin, and the dirt would attach to the oil, and then they take scrapers. And
they use a strigil. A strigil was the word.
Strigil, yes. But I knew it was, scrapers.
Yes, scrapers,
yeah.
Yes.
And so...
I know because I illustrated it for a kids magazine once.
Bathing went out in Europe with the Middle Ages because water was too contaminated to drink. And they just thought water was bad for you. And so they, everyone drank beer every day and not bathing.
Right, and then they drank alcohol, and it wasn't until coffee came along that the Age of Reason started, because then finally people were boiling water.
Do you have you ever read Shonen?
No.
Shonen's a really interesting book because it's about a Portuguese, or excuse me, an English sailor who, I'm sorry, what? Shogun. I'm sorry.
Oh, Shogun. Oh, yeah, I know about Shogun. Yes. It's
about,
Shonen is like I thought there was like a manga, Shonen Jump or something.
I'm sorry.
Like
I meant Shogun.
Oh yeah, I think I did read Shogun actually. Yes.
Yeah,
James
about
Clavell.
an English sailor that ends up in Japan, right? The scene that really stuck out with me is when they bathe him for the first time. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And all these like geishas are like, "You fucking stink. You need to get bathed." Right? Because in Japan, bathing was very important at that time and staying clean. And I mean, they would do, you don't wear shoes inside. You brush the dirt out of your homes, right? Versus England, where they throw refuse right in the middle of the street where people were walking.
Have you ever seen Steptoe and Son? It was Sanford and Son was based on Steptoe and Son. Yes.
No, I don't think I have.
They're not black in the English one, but it's like otherwise it's very similar. The old man though is absolute, he just torments his son. There's two Steptoe and Son movies you can see. Steptoe and Son is just like probably the most cringy movie ever. Like the son finally meets a girl and they go on their honeymoon and the father comes along and it's just a total nightmare the whole time through. It's torture.
Why would your father come along on your honeymoon?
Just to basically the whole movie is just torture.
Okay.
And it's not great. It's good, but the better one is Steptoe and Son Ride Again, which is more like, they're sort of more in the swing of just sort of having they get a greyhound dog and they're trying to win the races with the greyhound dog. So that's actually a much better one.
See, I'm more along the lines of like Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke, where they make the van out of weed.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the it lights on fire. The tailpipe lights the van on fire, and so as the cop's coming up, he gets high as hell.
Yeah,
and then he's like, with his huge smile, like, "Hey guys."
Yeah, all of those. Cheech and Chong. I love those so much. Yeah.
My mom showed me that movie when I was 18.
I watched some of them with Sam. I watched some of it with Sam when he was a few years ago.
Yeah, and so my mom's like, "You're finally old enough to get these jokes."
Yeah.
And so I watched this with you. It's like, okay, Mom, I love you.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well. Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, I like all those too, and that's good. Yeah, all kinds of comedy. I'm a fan of comedy. I was just saying to Chris when you were off the air, I was watching God's Favourite Idiot on Netflix. That's very funny with Melissa McCarthy, created by this comedian Ben Falcone, who I didn't really know, but I sort of knew him. But yeah, he's created a good little show there.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
It's a bit like The Good Place, but it's a little more sort of straightforward and funny. Like, it's not so ambiguous. Like The Good Place, it's always a bit ambiguous. Where are they? Like this one, no, God's picked him for me.
I thought they found out at the end of season 1 they were in hell.
Yeah, it was always like, oh, they're good place, bad place. Yeah, it was always a bit confusing.
No, but I mean, like, Michael admitted it in, like, the end of season 1. He's like, yeah, actually, you're in the bad place.
Yes, yes. So but they're the devils. But then even so, it still remained sort of fairly ambiguous about what was going on. I mean, I suppose they were all in hell. I suppose that was sort of what was going on. But yes. But this one's a little more straightforward. Like God's picked him from it. I don't know. But if they keep it going, they'll probably have to do the similar things. But I laughed. Melissa McCarthy was very funny, I thought, in that. I liked her better. I've always thought she's good, but I haven't really seen the thing where I thought, oh, she's just absolutely hilarious.
Have you seen Pitch Perfect?
I haven't seen that one, no.
She is hilarious in Pitch Perfect.
She's hilarious in that, yeah.
Yeah, and it was one of the first Pitch Perfect. I'm not a big fan of the others, the sequels, but the first one is like just a feel-good movie, and by the end you're like, yeah, acapella is amazing, and her character is just really, I'm sorry, I'm not thinking of Melissa McCartney, I'm thinking of Rebel Wilson.
Oh, yeah, Rebel Wilson's different, yes. All right,
yeah,
well, she's a different, yeah.
But all right. I'm sorry, Rebel Wilson's hilarious in that movie.
Now, is there a Rebel Wilson, Melissa McCarthy movie?
I don't think so.
Is that possible? Can that happen? But I think that would be quite good. But normally you'd have to team them. Normally they're the funny ones, so...
Yeah.
Melissa McCarthy, I don't know. I was a bit on the... I don't know. I mean, I don't watch things... Tina likes those things more. I'm not so into Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, Pitch Perfect. Normally I'm not into, singing movies, but I admit that one's, cute. It feels like the type of movie that your teacher would put on a day that they have a hangover. Yeah. And it's just like, this is a movie. It's safe. It's not going to offend anybody. Put that on so I can lay my head on my desk.
Yeah.
What, you had teachers like that when you were in school, right?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know. Putting on a video, yeah. We didn't really have videos so much. It was a bit of a treat to have a video.
Well, no, in America it's like, nope, I'm hungover. You're getting a video today.
Yeah, well, I certainly know at my son's school that.
But English teachers are also paid more in England, so maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah. I don't know. There were some videos around. We just didn't have a lot of videos in the classroom. I mean, I guess they could wheel it in and we see. I mean, in the French class, we would watch French films sometimes.
Yeah, like My Life in Pink. Oh, you probably never seen that movie.
La Vie en Rose.
My Life in Pink was about a kid he's a little trans kid. I should say, because he likes to wear dresses and things, and they're in a very affluent neighborhood at the beginning of the movie, and the neighborhood doesn't accept his kid, the way that his kid wants to act and be and stuff like that. And so he ends up losing his job and stuff like that. He ends up in this poor neighborhood by the end of the movie, and they're invited to a birthday party. And so, the boy's wearing this cowboy outfit and like, oh man, I hate this and stuff. Runs into a girl who's wearing a princess outfit and it's her birthday. And she's like, man, I love your outfit. And he's like, I love your outfit. So they switch outfits. And so when he comes running in the princess outfit at the end of the movie, the parents are like, oh my gosh. And then the parents of the little girl are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she switched outfits. I'm so sorry. She does this all the time. They're like, well, our son does this all the time too. We're fine if you're fine with it. And it was kind of about how the poor people were more accepting of diversity than the rich elite people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a very interesting thing, My Life in Pink. I think about that movie from time to time.
Yeah, that sounds like a great one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, were you shown that in class?
No, I saw it on IFC all by myself.
Oh yeah.
When IFC was new and they actually showed independent movies rather than stuff from Miramax and call it independent.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what they do now. Is they show Miramax movies and they're like, these are independent movies. It's like Miramax is owned by Disney. Don't bullshit me. Yeah, and I'm sorry, but like. One of the first times I ever saw Trainspotting was on IFC. That's an independent movie. That's when Danny Boyle wasn't known in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. So. I mean, yes, I suppose it was an independent movie. I don't know. It was quite a mainstream British movie, I felt like.
I said that he wasn't known in the United States.
Yeah.
Because at that point, Danny Boyle had directed a bunch of television, and he had Shallow Grave out. And I think Trainspotting was his second movie, but he'd done like a ton of television, so he was known in England, and people were like excited because he had directed like, a bunch of stuff. So
cool. All right. Well, I finished my picture.
You finish your picture. I have a lot of work left to do on mine.
Well, you're doing yours properly. I'm just sort of going in it with a pen and seeing what happens.
I gotta get going. Ian needs to get to work.
Yeah. Well, that's the end of the show. Yes. Good one. We had a long one. Thanks, Amber. Thanks, Dale and Chris, who moved on. Thanks for everybody who's still watching. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm quite pleased with that. Aura, Princess Aura. Oh wait, I just made a mistake. That's supposed to be Ardala. Okay, I'm gonna fix that. Wrong? Yeah, I just made a mistake. It's Ardala. Wait, oh my god. Okay. Now, the tattoo people know how to fix that. Yeah. Or, wait, that would have to be an ARDLA. That's so difficult.
I gotta get going. Okay.
All right.
I'll see you later.
Time to go. Thank you.
Are you gonna play the theme song?
Oh yeah, goodbye theme song. Yeah, all right. I forgot. All right. Here it is. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Here's a theme song for Chuck Whelan Showy. He asked me to write one, but I stole from David Bowie. Here's a theme song. Chuck Whelan is the best. We have lots of hosts, but we're running out of gas. Will you be our guest on? Will you be our guest on? Be on the Chuck Whelan Show. Whoa, 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 whoa. If you're gonna have a show, you